Warning, the following podcast contains adult language, themes, and situations. Also, the film we're about to talk about is going to be spoiled thoroughly. Listener discretion is advised. Enjoy this show.
What the hell even is this movie? Like a live-action anime? A western? Samurai film? A post-apocalyptic grindhouse thriller? An art piece? An assault on the senses? The weirdest, most annoying film I've watched in years. Maybe all of the above. So strap in as we break down the movie Nicolas Cage says is the wildest movie he's ever made, for better or worse, Prisoners of the Ghostland.
Okay, let's run.
I'm like a prickly pear.
What do you say we cut the chit-chat? A-hole! Porker, how'd it get burned? How'd it get burned? How'd it get burned? Hey, have you ever been dragged to the sidewalk and being until you pissed blood?
Welcome to One Cage at a Time, the show where we break down every single Nicolas Cage movie, one film at a time. Here are your hosts, Patrick, Vince, and Nigel.
In the frontier city of Samurai Town, not a joke, a ruthless bank robber named Hiro, also not a joke, is sprung from jail by a wealthy warlord whose adopted granddaughter has gone missing in a shadowy region known as the Ghostland. In exchange for freedom, Hiro must retrieve the girl within 5 days while strapped in a self-destructing suit or have his limbs blown off one by one. Also not a joke.
Kinda. As we see.
Yeah. Hurts his elbow a little bit.
Let's see who's joining Nick on this adventure.
Prisoners of the Ghostland reteams Nick with his face-off co-star Nick Cassavetes, stars Algerian Golden Raspberry nominated actress Sofia Boutella, perennial horror movie veteran Bill Mosely, and of course the only man who can have a testicle blown off and keep on going, Academy Award winner and the hero of this bewildering pandemonium, Nicolas Kim Coppola, better known as Nicolas Cage.
It's time to go over some of the finer details.
Prisoners of the Ghostland was released on January 31st, 2021 at the Sundance Film Festival. But then I remember when Pig came out, I was like, okay, Prisoners of the Ghostland is still coming out this year at some point, right? Because it was at Sundance. It's going to come out this year. But they sat on it until Pig started getting really good press. And then suddenly Prisoners of the Ghostland got a release date, and I have to assume that this was sitting on a shelf, potentially because of some things going on with Science Sono, which we'll get to in a second. But sat on the shelf until September 17th, 2021, when it was released wide to streaming. I don't know if it got a theatrical release at all.
I thought it did, but it was like a week.
Yeah.
It felt like it came out in theaters. But maybe that's just because we were paying attention to it.
Yeah, probably.
So.
We're the only ones. Everybody else is like, what? No. I could not find a budget anywhere for this film. I looked everywhere. And some things came up and said, like, this $75 movie, which was like a review of it. But box office, it made $63,009. Again, you know, we've had this debate many times on these unrated films, especially the ones released during the pandemic, of like, was it actually released to, you know, an actual theatrical chain of some sort? Maybe just some indie theaters. Did it come out in one theater in like New York or LA or both or whatever?
Right.
Or is this a streaming number, or, you know, some sort of reflection of rentals? I rented it the day it came out, and so I would like to say I contributed $5 to that $63,000.
I don't think streaming numbers are reported really, though. Like that's as much because they're obfuscated they don't have to report them. I don't know why box office numbers get reported the way they do. Maybe it's because they're publicly traded companies, or I don't know.
That's what I assumed. And that's why I was like, budget, why isn't it public? I think they have to get certain permits in order to make these films. So I think it has to be public in certain respects. But we've run into this like 3 different times with like Trapped in Paradise. We didn't get a budget. I don't think there was a budget on Pig, and there was no budget on Prisoners of the Ghostland.
Maybe it's just nobody cared to look it up. So it's been reported somewhere, but no one bothered.
Studio just buried it.
Yeah, to publish it somewhere.
If you break down the film, there's basically 2 sets. There's like the Samurai Town street, and then there's the Ghostland, which is like it's like a old concrete structure of some sort.
Yeah,
and they made a big clock. Yeah, lots of fog.
Yeah. Flavor Flav's clock.
I was actually I'm disappointed that we couldn't find it, because I wanted to know, because the production value seemed really good. Like, for what they did with whatever budget they had, it looked very nice. And like they made the most of whatever low budget they had. 'Cause, like, everybody had a unique costume and shot very well, and lighting was done really well. So, I think it's a good it's how a low budget movie should look.
Yeah. This was directed by Sion Sono, who is best known for the film Love Exposure from 2008, and has been called the most subversive filmmaker working in Japanese cinema today. He has directed over 50 projects, but this is the first time he's ever taken a stab at an English-speaking film, which is kind of similar to John Woo, where it's like he hadn't... He'd done mostly Chinese cinema films, and then he moved over to, I think the first one was Hard Target, that Jean-Claude Van Damme movie, and he got better, and the things were a little more coherent going forward. But I feel like there's a disconnect sometimes when you don't speak perfect English and you get your actors to say gibberish, and they say it very dramatically, and it's like, that's not a sentence. What the hell are you talking about?
Yeah.
Face off.
In this is why I'm saying that it sat on the shelf for a while. In April of 2022, several sexual misconduct allegations from actresses who said they were pressured into sex in exchange for roles came out against Sion Sono. Several now. It started shortly after this film was finished. And it has continued, and he hasn't made a film since Prisoners of Ghostland. It was just out last year, but he had probably shot it in 2020 or 2019, and then it came out in 2021. So he hasn't worked since 2019, potentially.
Dang.
Yeah. So there's that.
Yeah.
Which we've run into this now. This is the same company that released Color Out of Space.
Yeah.
And we had that issue with the director of Color Out of Space where he had some sexual misconduct come out about him right after it premiered, pretty much. Kind of ruined his career, his comeback. This was written by Aaron Hendry, who is an actor. And this is the only writing credit to his name. So I don't know what his involvement was. He was in Beer Fest and the Teen Wolf TV show.
Awesome.
Was also in Inhumans, that Marvel series that didn't seem to get a lot of love. And then...
That's where he learned how to write.
God.
And then Riza Sixo Safai.
RZA?
There's gonna be some names in here that are not gonna come out right. Nothing on IMDb credits that I recognize except did one episode of The Mentalist. I have heard of that. Never seen an episode, but I've heard of it. So yeah, powerhouse.
Okay.
Guy from Beer Fest and
I don't
who
feel
wrote
so
an
bad,
episode of The Mentalist.
I don't feel so bad about the tear to this thing, because I assumed it was written by like a Japanese guy,
I do think that Sion Sono had a lot to do with it.
Because of how heavily it, talks about, I guess, tries to wrap up an allegory of nuclear war and Holocaust and stuff like that. I assumed it was from a Japanese perspective.
Well, it is Riza 60 Safai, I believe, is Japanese.
Oh, okay. Co-wrote
with the guy from Beer Fest and Teen Wolf.
Teen Wolf.
I kind of wonder if maybe Sion Sono actually wrote the story, and then these two came in and kind of fleshed it out, and then he obviously made changes on set.
Yeah.
What? No.
This was shot by Sohei Tanakawa, who has pretty much only worked on Japanese films, so I can't really speak to them. So I can't really say. It was beautifully shot, though.
Yeah, I'd say they're pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was shot really well.
I would say for the limitations of this film, because like we said, it's obviously like 2 sets. Beautifully done. Yeah. The lighting was a little heavy-handed at times, but I did feel like it was a very pretty film and did the best with what they had. And then edited by Taylor Levi.
Probably
Levy. So Taylor Levy has mostly edited shorts and hasn't actually worked on a feature film up until this point. Which,
hey, it's like this movie. Just a whole bunch of shorts.
This film just does, it kind of has that same ring of Grand Isle, where it's like, feels like it was made by a lot of like film students and people who are kind of starting out.
We don't cotton the big city cinema out here.
Out in the Ghostland. Music was by Joseph Trapanese. Not a joke, but Joseph, I think it's Trapanese because he looks very like, I don't know, French maybe, but he actually has an amazing track record of Tron Legacy. He worked with Daft Punk on putting that score together, which is one of the greatest film scores I think I've ever heard. And then Oblivion, which I love the music from that film.
I love that game.
that was a Tom Cruise film that didn't suck. I still think it might have bombed, but I don't know for sure.
It did. It was a very underrated film.
I actually really like that film.
I thought it was really good too.
And then he did the music for Straight Outta Compton that wasn't NWA. I don't even remember music being in that film besides.
Well, then he maybe did a good job.
Yeah,
he faded into the background and accented the movie.
Yeah,
I like the music in this movie a lot.
Yeah,
it kind of had
good.
I think I call it out in the breakdown, but it kind of had a Ennio Morricone vibe at times.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought he did a great job, and I think he was told specifically, like, I want it to sound like, a spaghetti western of some sort.
Right.
He also did Transformers 4, so that guy from what was it, Journey or Yes, the guy from Yes, who had done the first 3 Transformers movies that we talked about. I guess he was fired, and they went in a different direction. Got Mark Wahlberg and what?
Got this guy.
And then there's this film that I wanted to call out, but it was in his credits. It's called Arctic with Mads Mikkelsen, which I actually just kind of stumbled upon. I think it was on Prime or something like that, and I watched it, and it's an amazing movie that I just feel like has fallen completely under the radar. It's like if it reminds me of All Is Lost. I don't know if you guys saw that Robert Redford movie where he's on a boat and it's him by himself the whole film.
Yeah, I never saw it, but I do remember it having a ton of buzz.
It was
Oscar buzz.
Amazing, an amazing performance. Like, he doesn't speak for almost the entire movie. Robert Redford in this Arctic film. I mean, just imagine carrying a movie for 2 hours without speaking once. It's amazing. That's pretty
crazy.
But Arctic is kind of similar where Mads Mikkelsen.
Yeah, Nicolas Cage did it. Willy's Wonderland.
Yeah, but see, actually, other characters spoke in that film. No one speaks in.
Well, I still say Nicolas Cage could do it.
I think he could. Yeah.
Let's write that. He's in a boat. Done.
He's in a boat.
Yeah, I don't know how to write dialogue, so we'll just make a movie that doesn't have dialogue.
He's in a boat. Doesn't speak Finnish.
Anyways, it's a great movie, but it's kind of similar in vibe where it's just him trying to survive the whole movie and things just get incrementally worse scene by scene by scene. And basically, towards the end, you're like, I was just guided. We're just going to watch this dude freeze to death in the Arctic. But Mads Mikkelsen, incredible in that film. Rotten Tomatoes, this is fucking shocking. 62%. 62% of the people who watched this absolute pile of shit thought,
Hey, spoilers.
amazing. This is great.
I
Save that for
had
our
a
review
feeling
section.
it was going to be
No.
divisive.
156 reviews.
Yeah.
Wow.
62% of them gave a 6 or higher, right? In order for it
Yeah.
to be,
Do you think that's sarcastic reviews, or do you think this is legit people?
there are a lot
think
of, I
it's-
read some reviews that were like, yeah, this is very artistic. And
Yeah.
that's the thing I hate about it. That's like, yes, it is artistic, but it makes no sense. Like,
Yeah.
there are a lot of allegories and metaphors and all sorts of things that
lot.
we will probably glance over throughout this film because we're too busy just trying to dissect the absolute fucking madness that's happening in every second of it. But if you take away the fact that it doesn't make any sense, sure, it's a beautiful
Yeah.
art piece. Gotcha. And I'm sure, if you know about Japanese mythology and metaphors and potentially had grown up post World War II and the nuclear era in Japan, yeah, maybe it would have made a lot more sense. And maybe to Japanese audiences, this is a masterpiece. I don't know. It reminds me of an anime, though. So I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was the closest thing to live action anime I've ever seen in my life.
I would
Just
say
nonsensical.
Snowpiercer is the closest to a live action anime that I've ever seen. And I
Well, I've never seen
hated that
'cause it
movie
sounds
too.
Awful. Yeah, see.
But
Careful,
everybody else,
You can't say that online.
everybody else that I've ever talked to about it has loved
Yeah.
that movie, and
You can't say you hate Snowpiercer.
fuck Snowpiercer. I hate that movie.
Right in its snow piercing hole.
Snowpiercer.
I don't know. My problem is I agree with you. I think there's probably a lot of symbolism here and some commentary on, like you said, living in a post-nuclear wasteland or country. But it's just so, the story is just so all over the place and
Incoherent.
nonsensical. Yeah, that
Yeah.
it takes away from that.
Pick
you
something.
can-
Pick
Yeah.
something to
we need
to make
something
an
to
allegory
latch
around.
onto, and we
Yeah.
have nothing in this film. Nick Cage is the closest thing we have to latch onto, and even he is just
Yeah.
okay, well, that was a weird choice in
Yeah.
every
He's
other
a
scene.
character that knows that he's in a movie.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
5.8 out of 10 on 156 reviews, which is incredible to me. Incredible.
I figured it was going to be somewhere around the 5 out of 10 because like we said, it's shot really well. It's beautiful. It's very artistic. The acting's all right, I think, in a lot of it. The music's great. The set design's awesome. The costumes are great. Presentation wise, it's fantastic style, but there's not a lot of substance. Or if there is substance, it's so obfuscated behind all of the shit that's going on screen and with the characters and stuff that you can't easily pull it out and understand what it's trying to tell you. But I can see people just ignoring that and just enjoying the experience of watching the movie. So or if they do understand all of the whatever the fuck is trying to be said,
Yeah.
that they would like the movie. So I figured it would be fairly divisive of a score. It's
Yeah.
kind of hard to categorize it.
It is 100%. Audience score 20% though. So,
Yeah. I get that.
critics versus audience.
Right.
Which,
Again, it's that taking that
fans
critical
versus
eye
critics.
to it. It's like critics have to usually try to account for the whole picture as a whole. So it's the cinematography was great. Choreography was pretty good for fights and stuff. It's a spectacle in a lot of ways. So sure, bump up the score a little bit, but most audiences are just going to go, I don't know. I would assume I don't know what the, it's a bit like us. What the fuck is this movie? I don't understand what the hell we're trying to be told here. It's just a boring, painful experience.
Convoluted, incoherent gobbledygook. Metacritic was 53%, which is kind of similar to the Rotten Tomatoes score, 5.8. So, again, critics liked it. IMDb is a 4.2, which feels more, I always say IMDb that's real people. So feels more accurate to me. And of course, A+ at Cinema Score. No, they didn't get a Cinema Score. No fucking way they got a Cinema Score for this. A+. A+.
How about a Coppola quick facts?
So Science Sono called Wild at Heart his favorite Nick Cage movie and an inspiration for his work, which, I get that. I see some David Lynch in this guy. And, I haven't seen any of his other films. This, I think that's one cool thing about this show is we're seeing all sorts of different directors and all sorts of different styles because we're following Nick Cage. So we might not be exposed to this. It feels like it's like punk rock Japanese cinema is what he's kind of going for. And that's sort of what David Lynch is sort of like punk rock American cinema. Sometimes it's absolute madness, and sometimes it's beautifully told, wonderful storytelling, but it's always weird. It's always weird. Everything with David Lynch is always weird, and I got the feeling that Science Sono really identified with that. Make everything weird all the time.
Yeah. This film feels like it's trying way too hard to do that.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
I feel like, like I said in our last episode, it just feels like 5 movies that he watched, and he kind of wrote a movie based on those 5 movies.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of
director. He made it. Maybe he didn't write it. Maybe.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, but he definitely put his spin on it.
Yeah.
The movie was actually delayed for a year prior to shooting it. Actually, I think they might have started shooting it, and but then Science Sono had a heart attack in the middle of shooting it, and he actually said that Nick Cage was the easiest person he's ever worked with, which we have not found to be true for the other directors, and that he brought him back from the dead. Science Sono brought him back to rape again.
Oh my God. You had to go there. I was going to make a joke about, I guess raping really takes it out on your heart.
I was going to make a joke about bringing out the dead, but he brought him back just to kill him.
Yeah. He did, in a way.
Hey, he brought him back
to kill his career.
Nicolas Cage, as we've talked about in the past, he actually met his 5th wife while shooting this film. I point her out in the breakdown.
Oh, she's in the movie?
She's in the movie, but very easy to miss. So we'll point it out when we get there.
Was she the little girl that played the young granddaughter?
God damn it.
She's really into flying squirrels.
The crow, dude.
She's 8. Yeah. Hugin. We haven't mentioned it on this. He has a pet crow named Hugin. That's Hugin.
That's one of Odin's crows, I think.
Hugin?
The name of one of Odin's ravens, not crows.
Who's my friend?
Yeah, it's like Hugin and Moonin.
Hugin.
Or Munin. I don't know how to pronounce it.
Hugin and Mugen.
So he needs to get a second crow and name it Moonin or whatever. Maybe he had a second one and it died.
Moonin. I got your Moonin right here. Look at my
Maybe he
eyes.
sent it, like in Game of Thrones, to one of his castles in England to deliver a message. I have married. By the time you get this, she will be of age.
Jokes just for us.
this has been described as the wildest Nick Cage movie by Nick Cage. He said, quote, "It might be the wildest movie I've ever made, and that's saying something." So even Nick Cage is like, yeah, I've done some weird shit, but this is the weirdest. That's pretty funny when you think about the fact that he has been in a David Lynch movie.
Right.
Which I haven't seen Wild at Heart in a long time, but he really seems to love Wild at Heart. Science Sono does. Science Sono disagreed, saying it isn't more wild than his favorite Cage movie, which is Wild at Heart. I haven't seen Wild at Heart in a long time, but I don't remember it being this fucking off the wall insane. I mean, it is insane because it's David Lynch. That's what he does. Every time you're watching a David Lynch movie, you know you're watching a David Lynch movie. And yes, it's batshit, but not more batshit than this, I don't think.
Yeah.
But we'll find out. We're going to do it next season, which we might have to do that. I don't know how we're going to do it, but there's this concert film called Industrial Symphony No. 1, which Nick Cage does appear in at the very beginning on a phone call for like 2 seconds, and then it's just fucking baby dolls hanging from the ceiling and midgets floating, and it's just fucking insane.
So Science
Sorry,
Sono
little
movie?
people. No, it's David Lynch.
Is this like based off of David Lynch's album?
I think it's
it a
music
concert for his
from
album?
Some Twin Peaks stuff and some stuff from Blue Velvet and kind of, yeah, it's
Just
interesting.
a collection of his stuff.
It's just insanity from the get-go, as you would expect. Hero, our character that Nick Cage is playing, Science Sono says is a combination of two characters, and I don't see either one of them in it. Sailor Ripley from Wild at Heart and Castor Troy from Face Off.
I see it.
You see Face Off in this?
Yeah, he makes those faces.
He makes a couple faces, I guess.
Yeah,
No, I don't. I don't see either of those
at all. Fucking
Yeah, I don't. Maybe he wrote it that way, and then Nick Cage did it different. Which is like
Cage's
there's
like,
a moment
"I'm
where he
not
points at
doing that."
Ratman. He points at Ratman and he says, "There you are." And I got to assume that Science Sono wanted him to do the exact same delivery as Vampire's Kiss, but then Nick Cage kind of pointed and did it a little bit different because I don't think Nick Cage wanted to repeat something he had done in the past.
Yeah.
And I think he's
I've
kind of
already
sick of
done
people
that.
asking him to do that. And I don't think he wanted to do it ever, but then agreed when they threw him fucking truckloads full of money to do Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. $30 million budget for Massive Talent. How much of that went to Nick Cage? 15, 20?
I'd say at least 15.
Yeah. I wonder how much Pedro got paid because he's a
yeah.
big star now.
Yeah. Probably not as much as you would assume because he was like when they shot it, I don't think that he was getting as much heat. I think he had done
was,
like
though,
the first
'cause
season of Mandalorian. And
He'd
of
been
course
cast
Game of
in The
Thrones.
Last of Us.
Had he
Game
already
of
been
Thrones.
cast there?
Yeah, he'd been cast.
He's been cast for a
in
while.
Last of Us.
Okay.
Yeah, because there's a conflict with season 2 of Mandalorian. So we had to film around him filming Last of Us. So
Yeah,
he'd been
'cause
cast
they
beforehand.
shot that show over a year. They just wrapped the other day, and it's only 10 episode season, so
It's going to be
he's a busy guy.
big, huh?
he's busy.
And he's filming Mandalorian season 3 right now,
Yeah.
which has nothing to do with what we're talking about. But that's why he was
Just
at
wanted to say
Celebration.
something about Star Wars.
Yeah, exactly. That's why he was at Celebration because they were filming in LA, and so some of the cast were able to show up. And
They weren't filming at the volume.
well, yeah, the volume's in LA.
Oh, wait, I thought it
I
was
say
in England.
filming, but I don't think Pedro Pascal's really there for much of that show. I think he shows up to a voice booth and does a couple of days.
You don't
worth of
think he
voice work,
does
and that's it.
the in costume?
No, I know for
acting?
a fact he doesn't. There's 2
Really?
other stunt actors that do most
Wow.
of everything you see on screen. They just bring him in to do the voice and then to do, when he takes his helmet off, obviously. But
It's interesting.
the fact that they were filming Last of Us basically the entire time they filmed season 2 of The Mandalorian, so it should tell you how little he's actually there.
This is the first collaboration between Nick Cage and Nick Cassavetes since Face Off. So I think it's the only other collaboration between the two of them. Nick Cassavetes son of John Cassavetes, who's the famous director. And then Nick Cassavetes actually is a director himself and did The Notebook, as we discussed in our Face Off episode. So he's an accomplished dude. Brings nothing to this film.
Yeah.
Just like Nick Cage. Just kind of there to be weird. Eyeliner. Freddy Krueger looking.
He looks like the singer from Rammstein. Like, helping Nick Cage rob a bank.
He does.
He does. Yeah.
This is the fourth collaboration between Nicolas Cage and XYZ after the highly acclaimed horror movie comedy Mom and Dad, the cult classic Mandy, and the Lovecraft adaptation Color Out of Space. So we haven't seen Mom and Dad yet. We're going to do that next season because I wanted to space out the horror a little bit more since we did so many in the first season. But I'm really looking forward to Mom and Dad since it's from the same people who did Mandy and Color Out of Space. But putting this film in that list doesn't seem fair. But I get it. It's a weird art film. So.
Yeah, but there were 7 different studios at the start of this that were listed at the start of this.
Just kind of like Willie's.
It's
Plus
funny,
2
funny
other.
You should
like,
mention that because I talk about that immediately in the breakdown.
Okay, good. Because it's the first thing you see. Just sit through a minute and a half of studio logos.
Yeah.
God damn it.
Plus, they also do special things to like 2 investment companies, or I'm assuming management companies that bankrolled it or whatever. So, total of 9 different companies involved in making this.
Yes. So I was checking out Entertainment Earth, and I got to thinking, like, I could totally recreate this entire movie just by going to Entertainment Earth and, like, buying, like, 9 different figures and just putting them all together that, you know, from, like, 9 different movies that don't make sense together.
Yeah.
And then just have them all say stupid things to each other. And, like, you know, we could have a cowboy, and then we could have, like, a samurai, and then suddenly, I don't know, fucking a robot could just come out, you know, with, like, crow wings or whatever the hell that guy was supposed to be.
I'm pretty sure that's how this movie was made. Like, they didn't do storyboards. It was just like playing with toys. And
Probably was.
And then they do this, and then they do this, and then like this bus comes with these ghosts on it.
The bus is like a carnival ride, and it like drives out, but then it never drives actually in the whole film. We have an entire scene of them like building this truck and try and like make it all like tricked out, like Pimp My Ride, and then then they pull it by hand, and they don't actually put it in the movie at all. It just is pointless like everything else in the movie.
And then this geisha's got a minigun, and then she shoots everybody.
Yeah. Why the hell? Okay, we'll get to that in the film. But if you wanted to recreate Prisoners of the Ghostland in your own home, head over to entertainmentearth.com right now and put in our coupon code CAGEPOD to save 10%. 10% is a pretty good deal on action figures. That's kind of hard to get. So I appreciate them hooking us up with that promo code. They also have a coupon code for the summer. I don't know how long it's going to last, so you might want to do it right now. I think it's Sunfree22, which gets you free shipping on any order over $39. Pretty good deals. Pretty good deals over on entertainmentearth.com.
Let's break this bitch down. Act 1. Let's set some stuff up.
Man, I've been looking forward to this for a really long time since I first watched this movie. I was not looking forward to writing the breakdown. That I've been dreading forever. But the moment that we could sit down and actually talk about this movie with all of our notes all put down on paper, I've been waiting for this for a long time. Here we go. Our film is brought to us today by Patriot Pictures and Untitled Entertainment. Oh, and Booze Booze Bang Bang and 11 Arts Films. Oh, and of course Saturn Films and XYZ Films. In association with Scion Productions, Komodo Productions, and Union Patriot Capital Management, LLC. Everybody got that? Okay. All right. Now that we have listed everyone who contributed their $8.50 to get this piece of crap made, let's begin this film.
It's always a great sign when your movie makes you sit through 7 studio logos.
Yes.
You're like, when the hell does the movie start?
It's like that Family Guy's bit where there's
Yes.
like, is this the movie? Oh, cool. It looks like a action
I was
adventure on
living
the
that
sea.
while I watched it, yeah. And the funny thing was I had subtitles on, and it even subtitles the music for the studio. It would be like ominous music
Really?
playing. And then it's like, oh, cool, the movie's starting. Nope, it's not a studio logo.
Oh, here we go. No. XYZ. Okay. Our story begins in a colorful IKEA version of a bank in Japan where everyone dresses like a cartoon character. A little kid with a mask on backwards excitedly smiles at a gumball machine while already holding a cup full of gumballs. Suddenly, the greatest actor of all time storms in with a double-barrel shotgun to rob this IKEA bank. But this does nothing to dampen the little kid staring at the gumball machines' spirits. Nick's partner in crime, Nick Cassavetes, sports the same shaved head he had in Face Off, but this time he's added some fun eyeliner to the mix. Which I have to wonder, because he surprised John Woo with that shaved head and his whole look for Face Off, and I kind of wonder, did he surprise Science Sono with this look with the eyeliner? And he was like, perfect.
If he says that he modeled the hero after Troy, then I have a feeling he's like, ooh, shave your head, please.
Please. And thank you. I was going to make a rape joke, but I'm not.
Yeah, I was thinking it too.
Yeah.
I guess he was pretty confused by that weirdo kid smiling his ass off, holding gumballs in front of a gumball machine while his mom screams in terror due to there being an armed robbery going on. So he shot the kid in the face. No, I kid. He didn't do that yet. We cut to another Japanese whimsical, obvious set where I guess TVs don't exist because everyone in the town seems to sit vacant-eyed staring at the street while cherry blossoms fall from the sky. A samurai-looking dude goes inside, which prompts a girl to whistle loudly for 3 other girls to escape this charming compound, because God knows he'd have never heard that whistle through the literal paper-thin door he just shut.
1 second after he went inside.
The second he closes the door that's like, that is paper, right? Those
Right.
doors. I've always wondered, I know most Japanese people probably don't live in those style of houses anymore, but how do you keep that thing warm? It's cold in Japan in the winter.
I don't know. I would assume it's pretty well insulated because wood, and I think paper can make decent insulation. But I mean, they must have been doing it right because they've done it for how many thousands of years they did it for. So
maybe it's really thick paper. They always make it look like it's like construction paper when they fight through them and stuff.
Yeah. I think it's probably double paned too, so there's like a layer. It's like with window
double
glass,
paned paper.
I think it is double layered, so it traps that air between the two, and then you get some insulation that way.
Yeah. A woman gives the only non-Japanese girl in the town a bracelet of hope that she took off of her neck while her titties hang out for some reason.
Yes.
Off to an amazing start.
Science Sono. That's why they were hanging out.
It's the only nudity in the entire film.
And there's no point.
And
it's
there's,
pointless.
I mean, I guess maybe he was going for some mother allegory or something there. And I think that's the same woman who is Yasujiro's sister.
Yes. Yeah, I rewatched the opening to see that, and yeah, it is.
Okay. I don't know what the connection is. I mean, maybe she's going for a daughter thing, and that he wanted to show the mother thing of having the press up, but it was just like, wow, that's weird and off-putting for no reason. Right. These 3 girls make their stealthy escape while 40 girls hang outside yelling at them to hurry up.
The great escape.
And they Naruto run down the hall, down the street to get out. Put their arms out and run.
It reminded me of everybody storming Area 51.
They rejoice once they get into a car that they're free, But I guess they didn't get very far because the film cuts to a guy who looks like Freddy Krueger in the Toxic Avengers Love Child, some guys cosplaying as samurais, and I think that guy who wore horns during the Capitol insurrection.
QAnon shaman.
The non-Japanese girls, who is Bernice. I mean, there are a couple of other girls in this harem from the governor's spoilers. They're all sex slaves. But the governor's like group of girls, there are a couple non-Japanese, but not. I think Bernice is like the only one. Sofia Boutella. I don't know where she's from. I'm assuming somewhere in there.
Didn't you say Algerian in the breakdown?
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. I was the one who did the research,
Algeria.
and I still didn't. Okay. Bernice wakes up in terror to find she's surrounded by children. I know I'd be terrified.
Ditto.
She wakes up later, and she's in the exact same spot. She doesn't have all the children around her that second time, but it looks like it was shot like right after each other. Like,
Yeah, I thought it was the
Seconds
same
after.
scene. I didn't realize it was a different shot.
yeah. She walks outside sweaty and covered in filth, only to find she's in a Pink Floyd fever dream of some sort.
Hello.
There are creepy mannequins everywhere, some shoddy scaffolding.
Time starts playing on the clock.
It feels like that, right? It feels like
it feels like a Floyd music.
yeah. There are creepy mannequins everywhere, some shoddy scaffolding, guys arbitrarily walking around with torches for no good reason, and a group of people with a long piece of rope stopping the second hand of a comically oversized clock from ticking.
It's a doomsday clock.
That's what, yeah. I mean, you know, I get. We'll get to it, but like we
don't have to dive into this.
Obviously, they're going for this like post-apocalyptic, nuclear war thing. I'm not sure. I asked the question later on, but when they let the second clock go, it's 8:15.
Yeah, that's when Hiroshima was bombed.
Was it really? Okay.
Yeah.
I knew there
8:15
had to
a.m.
be something, but
Yeah.
Okay. She has a mini freak out and then screams, "I'm not a prisoner," for no discernible reason whatsoever. I mean,
Just listen to that Miley Cyrus song.
I mean, so I guess, see, these are the prisoners of the Ghostland in this group. But does she already knows that she's a prisoner in this? It's been like a day since she's been missing. Or like
I'm guessing
hours, really.
Yeah.
I guess
Which we don't know at the time.
She is.
But like she knows about the Ghostland, I would assume.
I guess.
So I'm guessing that's why she
says, "I'm not a
I'm
prisoner."
not supposed to be here.
Yeah. Okay.
Wasn't even supposed to be here today.
Then we cut to the title card of the movie, which I think was designed by the same guy who made the Willy's Wonderland title card. Hey, I made this in MS Paint in 2 minutes, but it should give you an idea of what I'm going for. It's perfect. But I could animate it or something. No. Exactly what I'm going for. Next, we see 10 glory holes in a red wall with women sticking their heads through, chanting, "Kagome, Kagome, when oh when will it come out? In the night of dawn, the crane and turtle slipped. Who is behind you now?" while rotating their heads in a circle. I've watched this movie 3 times, broken it down scene by scene, and none of that makes any sense in the slightest still. Like, I don't have any idea what the hell that was supposed to be about. Maybe there's something with Japanese mythology that I'm missing because I'm a white guy. Write us at onecagepodcast@gmail.com.
Yeah. I'm sure there's a lot we're missing.
Yes.
Yeah. I thought those were the lyrics to Jeremiah Sand's album, one of his songs.
Not weird and stupid enough for you yet? Next, we see a long-haired Japanese cowboy playing kickball with some kids while some guys smacks dust off of a lamp with a French tickler of some sort, and another guy throws darts at a dartboard being held by a guy standing 2 feet away from him while a 50s jukebox plays electro cowboy music.
Yeah, at that scene, I was watching it with my wife and was like,
That was the
This
moment
is
she
the whole
left the
movie.
room, right?
yeah, I was like, this is what the whole movie's like. So There, you've seen the whole movie.
You've seen the whole movie.
Pointless imagery.
We see Nicolas Cage in a diaper drug out into the street while a car pulls into this one dirt road town while like a dozen girls clap and chant "Governor" around it, and that samurai guy from earlier hangs out the back window of the car for some reason.
He's a rock star.
Everyone seems overly excited as if Kim Jong-un just came to town. It reminds me of that, like that.
Yeah, that forced
fanatic,
celebration.
yeah, forced fanatic devotion, so that you're not murdered by this person. Which I think that's what he was going for.
Yeah,
yeah. I think it's supposed to be symbolic of like this is how the Japanese felt about America after the bomb.
Yes, yeah.
Like,
I think I mentioned
we
it.
worship you.
White guy, white suit, red hands, blood on his hands. I think it's supposed to represent like America and Russia. You know, these threats of nuclear annihilation from these two white superpowers. That are just interested in money and pretty much nothing else. And that's turns out the governor is a dusty old white guy who wears an all white suit, white cowboy hat, and red gloves, almost like he has blood on his hands. Am I right, guys? The cowboy hat has, he's America, obviously.
Texas.
He is Texas.
America. He is Texas.
Tex-Macadoo.
Texas governor. Tex-Macadoo.
He did look like him, right?
Yeah,
He did. He really did.
Nick gets drug out in front of a bunch of samurais and ninjas or something, a few extras from Cobra Kai, and a bunch of guys dressed like cowboys. I mean, okay, so like there's a breakdown at one point I saw online that said, this is like a post-apocalyptic thing where they kind of like threw together different cultures all into this one little town, but it's like cowboys who obviously have never done any cowboy things. It's like brand new, perfectly clean cowboy outfits.
yeah.
And then like 9 million samurais in that town. One of the cowboys calls Nick a
Cocksucker, motherfucker.
all the girls in town giggle and take pictures of Nick in a sumo suit with smartphones, while some other girls say,
Let me see your balls.
Yeah, it's a weird balls motif in this movie.
yeah. I think it's also the power of man over women. There's that going on. And there's some rape stuff going on, which I'm sure Science Sono had a lot of fun making. Allegedly, he hasn't been convicted of any of this stuff. So dragging him through the mud for nothing. He's going to come out squeaky clean like Bill Cosby's. All of this seems to make Nick pretty confused. I mean, it's a lot to take in. Heads doing circles, chanting, Japanese cowboys, girls asking to see your balls, Otis from House of 1,000 Corpses in a stupid cowboy hat. What a crazy break from sitting in a jail wearing a diaper.
The sheriff looks like Asian Chum-Li from Pawn Stars.
Some doofus in a bolo tie kicks a ball at the governor, and he gets mad because he doesn't want his white boots scuffed up. So he kicks the ball at Nick, and then Nick kicks the ball at some girls. Guys, I'm afraid I might have had an aneurysm. Is this all happening? Is this actually happening in this movie?
Unfortunately, yes.
Then the governor says,
They say you're a veritable phantasm.
yep, definitely having an aneurysm. He goes on to say our hero has slipped through the law's hands more time than any other man alive. So I guess that's why he's a phantasm, because he can just magically get away from the cops.
No, it's another ball motif. It's the flying silver ball from Phantasm.
Yeah. I was really hoping that the tall man would show up behind a cowboy and say,
save the movie.
"Never cross the line, hero. Never cross the line."
If you end up in the Ghostland, it's because I wanted you to.
Careful, I don't snip off your fingers. Deadfall. Nobody watched that. Okay.
Yeah.
Not even our episode. According to YouTube.
Lay one finger on the woman, it's a major faux pas.
These jokes just for us. I love it.
I love it.
He says Hero killed a bunch of people in that IKEA bank from the beginning that inexplicably had like open flame torches lighting it. I don't know if you noticed that. There's just open flames in the bank. I don't know
Just
what they
way
were
too
going
much
for
shit
there.
to notice.
But yeah. Oh, and he also says that that Hero, Nick Cage, killed that little kid with the gumballs. Weren't there other kids? Oh, never mind. He tells him his granddaughter Bernice has been lost and he wants Hero to return her because, you know, he's a murdering bank robber who is good at evading capture from the law. So he's the perfect choice.
Yeah. Yada, yada, yada. We've all seen Escape from New York. Just that.
I think, you know, I'm not entirely sure what Yasujiro and Nick Cage are supposed to represent. I thought maybe Yasujiro was like the old Japan and Nick Cage represents like new ideals in America and not the old like conservative values and more of the more left-leaning values of I don't know exactly what that is, but also he's a criminal and
maybe it's like the new Western ideals that the Japanese people like to embrace. You know, it's like he's so cool, you know, and you know he could action film star or whatever. But it's like Yasujiro is like the old ways that were held captive,
old stoic ways,
and they latched onto the culture. I mean, geez, think about pre-World War II Japan versus post. And just
so I think Yasujiro is supposed to be like that.
Yeah, like the old Japan.
That caged Japan that's basically being held captive by this by the American or the Western governor.
Right.
Yeah. Then have you guys seen that like this new movement in Japan where they're like dressing as greasers and racing hot rods up and down the street? Like
that's
maybe
so
Nick
funny,
Cage
really.
is supposed to be that, yeah. That kind of like new Western influence on Japan. I like that take. He gives Hero a leather suit while some chick with an overbite who may or may not be handicapped repeats Bernice over and over in the back of the governor's car before screaming and jumping out of the car while holding a toy robot. Are any of these details important? Who the fuck knows?
It's the same chick that whistles at the start to signal that Bernice and the two other women can leave. Yeah. But like she seems all there in that scene and like totally normal. So it's like maybe she got tortured and went insane or
Weird
something.
as hell until
The
like
governor
the
beat the
final
shit out of
couple
her.
scenes.
Yeah.
I think I mentioned it, but I was like, is she supposed to be like a little kid? Like we're supposed to assume that she's like 14 or something,
I didn't get that.
or she's
I didn't get that either.
traumatized and that's why she acts this way, or is she actually like kind of handicapped? She acts normal once Bernice gets back to her.
Yeah.
It also like really paints the jumping on the minigun scene differently if you think of her as being handicapped. Nick puts on the leather suit while a group of girls sketch him for some reason and giggle when he throws his filthy diaper at them. Then the overbite girls start singing and everyone in the town joins in. Cowboys, heads in the wall, samurais, kabuki girls, a sketch artist drawing Nicolas Cage's dick, the whole lot of them just singing together. We're not even 15 minutes into this thing. It's just... Anyways.
I was really hoping they show us that sketch.
I think it would have been comically like Willem Dafoe sized.
Yeah.
Let me just say, my score would have improved drastically.
Same. Would have had some new fat material.
I zipped my pants up and stormed off in anger.
I was waiting for it when they were sketching the diaper. Then when they erased it, I was like, oh, here we go.
All right, let's go.
The governor tells Hero where to find the girl, and a guy screams, "It's ghosts! Ghosts, I tell you!" for no reason whatsoever. While the sheriff, Chumlee from Japanese Chumlee, tells him to shut up. Big fat cowboy, long hair. Sure,
Yeah.
Sheriff. Okay.
Chumlee.
The governor says they're not ghosts, but instead godless sodomites. Meanwhile, all his 20 or so granddaughters are his personal sex slaves. Spoilers, just so you know. Sodomites. He's upset about the sodomites out there.
Yeah.
He gives Hero a photo of Bernice, and he says, and Hero says, I can see why you want her back. Because he knows exactly what's going on here. Which pisses off the samurai faction of this street. So they attack him, and he throws a couple to the ground while the rest of the crowd claps and sings again. Jesus Christ, I hate this movie. Samurai guy who likes to hang out the window of moving cars forces everyone away from Hero so he can take him on one-on-one or something, and they smile at each other. What in the ever-loving fuck is going on? Seriously.
Oh, don't worry. The movie will explain it eventually. Oh, wait.
No.
Eventually.
That was me.
Yeah.
I like
Yeah,
the first act
sure,
of this
yeah.
movie. I was like,
Well, it
okay,
makes
this is
sense.
cool. Weird world building. Let's see how this all shakes out.
Yeah, that's what I thought was going to happen. Nope. The governor says no one has ever been a worthy opponent of Yasujiro, the samurai guy who hangs out car windows. So don't fuck with him, I guess. That's it on that. Never had a worthy opponent. Fights every samurai in the town. Nick Cage beats him in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Hero lunges at the town people a few times in a very Cajun manner. Before zipping up his jacket and activating what the governor describes as a suit equipped with explosives that in actuality looks like something you would buy in the toy aisle at Target or something, or Spirit Halloween. It's like a fake leather jacket with like sewn on light up like alien eggs or something.
Nodes.
The explosives are connected to a neurosensor that can recognize the impulse of a man intending to strike a helpless woman, even though none of the suit is touching his brain or anything. Like, is this supposed to be the future? Like, are we supposed to assume that this is the future? They were like using regular smartphones, and they're
I
driving
just
normal
assumed
cars.
it was its own world. It doesn't matter. It's like an anime. It doesn't have to be set anywhere in our world. It's just it just exists.
Yeah, maybe it's like Face Off with like we just put technology that doesn't exist at all in modern day. If he strikes a woman, detonation will occur, and if he gets any kind of like kinky ideas, some explosives will blow off his nuts. Just so we're clear, that's what the nut explosives are for: is to blow off his nuts.
Chekhov's nut explosive. Just keep it in mind for later.
Yeah. He tells him if he brings back Bernice within 5 days, he'll walk away a free man. And if not, he'll blow up or whatever. Oh, and she has to speak Hero into Hero's arm box thingy.
Pip Boy.
Yeah, Pip Boy. She has to say it into his little speaker arm box by day 3, or he'll die in 3 days instead of 5. Spooky handicapped girl screams for the governor not to give her sister to Hero, while she cackles and shows everyone her toy robot. She must be super freaky in bed, is all I'm saying. That's why the governor keeps her around, you know?
God.
They give him a car, which he drives 10 feet and then promptly jumps out of and takes off on a little girl's bike.
He takes fucking Pee-wee Herman's bike. Big adventure.
Pee-wee Herman's bike is way cooler than this.
Yeah.
Oh man, our favorite Nick Cage recurring trope, his utter and absolute inability to ride a bike.
It's so good. It's my favorite part of the movie.
Mine too.
So he rides away on a girl's bike like he has rickets, while the doofus with the bolo tie calls him a badass, and a cowboy says he's so cool.
What a badass.
So cool.
Except
And
the guy, the
and
guy's
then
just
this-
badass. Like, he's never said it before. He's like, what a badass.
Badass.
Go to this coffee
he
shop
has
and get a
never said
biscotte.
Biscotte.
Then the samurai guy like smirks at him like he's finally found the love of his life or something. Like,
Yeah.
why? What?
That guy can ride a bike.
What the fuck? Is what?
Sodomize him.
Because he left the car behind?
Yeah, he was so impressed by Nick's our hero's desire to ride a bike, even though knowing he looks like a total fucking idiot riding a bike. He doesn't care. He just has that devil may care attitude.
Is it because he rode in the opposite direction, like he was trying to escape? What the hell? Why is he a badass? Why is he so cool? Why is the samurai guy smirking at him? My brain is fucking hemorrhaging at this point. Like, what the fuck is happening? What the fuck is the point of any of that?
Yeah. I think that part only exists because the director is a fan of Nicolas Cage movies and is in on the joke that we also have, that he just looks so stupid when he rides a bike.
Bicycle. Make him ride one.
It did. It looked like
I want to
Kermit.
put Nick Cage on the bike. Kermit from
It looked like Kermit riding a bike. Like, it's just
Too bad Herzog didn't do that.
Yeah. Oh man. Coked out
Nothing
Nick
is
Cage.
cooler
and he looks so
than Nick Cage
uncomfortable
on
too.
a bike.
Like his look on his
Yeah.
face, he's just like,
Yeah.
He's like, God damn it again.
Nick, can
Wobbling
you
all over
ride
the
a
place.
bike? No, I cannot. Samurai guy speeds after him and gives him the keys to the car again. So Nick says, "Not much time, huh?" And rings the bell to the bike a couple times and then drives away in the car. Every fucking second of this movie is utter nonsense. What?
there's something about time. There's a motif about time in the
Yeah.
movie that I haven't been able to decipher.
Yeah.
Just like the motif about balls that I haven't fully been able to decipher.
I'm saying the balls is, rape. He's like making a talk about men just feeling like they have control over women. And also because, well, we know.
Yeah, but like the gumballs that go
Allegedly.
flying everywhere.
Yeah.
Like him kicking the little kids kicking balls around at the start, and
So you're saying more of like balls and maybe not testicles.
both. Like it's just this thing. That's the thing about this movie that drives me insane, is that it feels like there's a bunch of stuff that you should be picking up
Yes.
on,
Yeah.
but so much of it doesn't connect to anything and doesn't actually be something. It's weird for the sake of being weird. So
Yes.
you never know what you should be trying to analyze and what you shouldn't. So the result is that you just stop
Yeah,
caring. Because
exactly.
you never know if you're wasting your time or if it's just showing you gibberish or if something actually is supposed to mean something. But even if it does mean something, it's never made clear. So there's no reward for trying to assume,
Yeah.
interpret one way or the other.
Completely lost in the incoherence throughout.
Yeah.
Hero drives until he runs into that guy from the Capitol riot and his buddies being attacked by a lens flare for some reason.
Michael Bay.
They make dumb faces at him while being coated in dust and then hit him with some bright lights and an annoying buzzing noise. So he speeds straight at them. No, that's it.
Yeah.
They're ghosts,
As one
I
does.
guess. So,
Yeah. They're the demon bikers from Mandy.
except stupid.
Yeah.
Except stupid.
Cosplaying as samurai.
Maybe that's what happened with Science Sono watched Mandy and he was like, let's take that. A little bit from Road Warrior here, a little bit from Mandy over here, a little Vampire's Kiss, a little Deadfall,
Yeah.
little Wild at Heart. So I'll put it together in an incoherent stew. Apparently, they caused him to wreck his car by mean mugging him because next we see him crashed on the side of the road next to a classroom in the middle of a burnt out field where pages of books are blown by the wind, but there's no signs of kids or anything. Symbolism.
He's just laying on the road in a Family Guy sprawl. Arms tucked all weird.
Why would he just fall out of the car?
And the car didn't even look damaged. Like,
It wasn't
just looks like he
damaged
drove
at
into
all.
an
He like
embankment and then
drove
fell out of
onto
the
an
car.
embankment and then he fell out of the door.
He fell out of the car. This is why wearing your seatbelt's important, children.
I guess he was supposed to have driven towards the ghosts, and then he was supposed to have driven into this wall, but there's no damage
Right.
on the car or anything.
But it's like, he drove through the ghosts because they're not actually there.
Yeah.
And then crashed the car.
yeah.
So our hero's bright idea to confront these guys in a giant bus in samurai armor is just crash straight into them.
Just try right at him. Yeah, that works. I guess that's what happened with Bernice and her friends too. Is like they drove at them and then they all fell out of the car in different directions and they were all taken to different
And
spots,
separated.
somehow. We cut to some more absolute nonsense of people throwing gumballs in the air, people with dumb masks on their face holding Japanese pinwheels, bubbles, and Nick Cage heading to the Bloofer Bank. Hey, wasn't that Bubba's name in Forrest Gump, like his middle name? Benjamin Buford Blue. The Bloofer Bank. The BLEUFEUR. Is that something that I'm supposed to understand? Like, is that like one of the guys who worked on the atom bomb or something?
Maybe. Yeah, I don't know.
Weren't there like 13 guys that worked on the atom bomb?
It's probably at this point.
onecagepodcast@gmail.com. Then it cuts to some Japanese girls in white sheets in front of a concrete wall Sion Sono seems to have used in every other shot in this movie. You know, because why not? More like his victims, I guess, is what that's supposed to be, because we find that out later. They and those little kids with their hands over the blue square that looks like a U2 album cover. Those are his victims. There's a lot of kids in there. Killed a lot of children for fun, I guess. Yeah. Or I guess that was supposed to be the kids that Psycho, which is Nick Cassavetes' character, was supposed to kill. But I guess he considers those his victims.
Yeah.
Maybe because he didn't stop him from killing them. He feels guilt.
I guess, yeah. He is like, oh, we'll get to it, but he's like stoked to see him. Like, hey, murderer, what's going on? We see Hero on a cart, some goth chick with electric centipedes on her arms, and some goofy-looking Peter Pan-esque lost boys with robot voices, dressed like how I'd imagine kids would dress themselves if they had a lot of random plumbing parts and a hot glue gun laying around. All just shrieking nonsense at Nick. Get used to that.
Watch this movie with subtitles.
I did. I still was like, what?
There's times when they actually translate what the Rat Man's saying, and there's other times where it doesn't. So it's like,
same with the Japanese. Like, I call it out a few times of like, they say Japanese things to him and it's not translated at all. I'm like, okay, well, that makes no sense then, because we don't speak Japanese. You made an English-speaking film. They take him to an abandoned oil refinery or something filled with creepy mannequins and guys dressed in fire-retardant suits walking around with torches for some reason, which I guess was supposed to be like you see those scenes of like post-Chernobyl where they're like walking around in those suits with the flames, and I think it was supposed to like burn off the radiation or something. I don't know what the idea was there, but I think that's what they were going for. We never see them again, just in this one scene. Then a town full of kids dressed in toilet paper with white umbrellas welcome Nick and some girl with blue hair by moaning and shouting shit at them while a guy dressed like a vampire in a top hat wanders from nearby. Little cookie, stay with us, that guy.
Yeah.
I fucking hate this movie so much. I hate it. The Babadook, yeah. By the way, after this scene, we never see the toilet paper people ever again either. And I think that was also the welcome. Yeah, it's welcoming it. This is how they welcome everybody. They bust out the toilet paper, and they go crazy. I think that was also something with nuclear radiation. I feel like I've seen that somewhere before. Those kids with like toilet paper or like some sort of white over the top of them. I don't know. I feel like it was something out of an 80s music video.
Victims or something.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe that's what it was. Like bandages.
They're all wrapped in bandages.
Yeah, okay. I'll take that. They take them to the big stupid clock we saw from earlier while a bunch of chimney sweep looking kids dance like idiots and toilet paper people do the YMCA dance. It's like Heart of Darkness on acid, but dumb. We see the people trying to keep the second hand on the clock from moving with a rope. Then some girl wipes blood from Nick's head and says, "He has thick red blood. The prophecy is true. Time will move again." So he's supposed to be the rescuer of some sort. Like maybe he represents new America trying to get rid of nuclear arms, or a new generation of people trying to get rid of nuclear bombs in general. I think that's what they were trying to go for when the clock like moves again. Like, we don't have to fear being annihilated by nuclear death anymore. Sure.
Yeah.
I think that's what they were supposed to go for, but I don't know for sure.
Now they can start to rebuild Hill Valley from Back to the Future. They got nuked. The only thing left standing is the clock tower.
Marty, it's stupid. Then everyone chants bullshit and does stupid dances, yada, yada, yada. You know the drill by now. That's what this movie is. They all chant shit in unison nonstop and dance. It's just dumb. Nick jumps up and says, "I'll karate chop you." Finally, someone I can identify with in this film. Then some carnival music starts, and a guy is wheeled in like they're changing the sets of a play in a little mini library room thing of some sort. I looked up a lot of the books that he was like quoting, and they're all like. So Heathcliff, I think it was supposed to be from Wuthering Heights, and I'm sure that there's all sorts of other references. At a certain point, my eyes just started glazing over. Like I said, I looked like that girl who was in the closet from The Ring by the end of breaking this movie down. I couldn't fucking take it anymore. He says, "All is in pain. You must surrender to fate. You have wandered off your path and stumbled into unknown danger." It's like a mental patient with ADHD smoked crack and wrote this movie. I think that there's a lot of things going on that we're supposed to be picking up, but we're not, because it's just utter fucking nonsense. Just You ever watch Turkish Star Wars? You ever see that?
Yeah.
Where you're like, man, this is going to be so fun to watch and make fun of, and how goofy it is, but your mind is just like, like it's nonstop for like the first 8 minutes, and you're like, ha, 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 and then your laugh button, like your brain just stops being able to laugh. It's like in South Park when Cartman sees the butt face people, and he like his laugh is just broken because he's seen the funniest thing he'll ever see, and he can't laugh ever again after that. That's what this. Yeah, that's what this is.
Just there's so much absurdist surrealism that you can't handle it. You just shut off.
Non-stop ridiculous. Then the Rat Man and his Rat Clan, the guys who were dressed like Peter Pan characters, come at Nick, and he delivers the line he made famous in the critically acclaimed film from 1993, Deadfall. We all know it. Hi fucking ya.
Hi fucking ya! Hi fucking ya! Hi fucking ya!
That I've never heard him say that line in any other movie.
Yeah.
Had to have been a Deadfall homage. Hi fucking ya! Except he delivers it terribly in this one, and not as crazy as Eddie King in Deadfall. He then says, "You people are all fucking nuts." I could not agree more.
Yeah.
At least
really
there's
felt
somebody
like he was breaking
who's like
character.
Yeah.
Just him yelling.
How did I get in this movie?
It's first day of shooting, yeah.
Maybe this was the movie he was like, God, I need to do something serious again. And that's why he did Pig. Which, by the way, in 2021, his films were thus: Willy's Wonderland, Pig, Prisoners of the Ghostland. Oh, wow. Yeah. Pig, sandwiched in between these two nonsensical... Willy's Wonderland at least made sense.
Yeah. Had that
Even
going
though
for
it
it.
had fucking animatronic demons or whatever, at least it made sense and was coherent.
Yeah.
The preacher guy with the carnival music says his name is Enoch, and he runs this demented lunatic tribe and lets Hero know that he's in the Ghostland. He says it's a land of no escape, even though he drove there in like an hour from that goofy as hell town with cowboys in it and shit. It was like it was like he started driving and it was like evening, and then he's there and it's dark, or whatever. Or it's like the next morning. I don't know. It's like he's still on day one, I believe. He shows the crowd of deranged psychos the picture of Bernice and her friends. And the girl with blue hair says they were together. And after some more nonsensical shouting, someone says, "She's up in the mannequins." Oh, in the mannequins. First place I would have checked. Oh, God. This whole movie is full of weird-looking people saying random as fuck things to Nick Cage in an everly increasingly weird way. Did any of you see her? And that crazy old man, go find her yourself, but it's in Japanese or whatever.
Yeah. I liken it to the movie Cats. If you've seen that.
Yes.
By the end of the movie, you're just kind of broken and just sort of accept everything that's happening, and it just gets more and more nonsensical somehow. But you're kind of like, whatever, fuck it, whatever, sure. Yeah,
everybody's dressed weird, and everything looks weird, and everything feels off and strange.
Judy Dench just talking to me directly about raising cats. Whatever, it's fine. Like,
yep.
It's the same kind of mental fatigue that just...
Do yourself an absolute treat. Head over to lovedagainmedia.com and buy yourself Cats for $1.50 or whatever.
Yeah.
Just to watch it.
It's better. It's better than Prisoners of the Ghostland.
It's better than Prisoners of the Ghostland, I'll tell you that. Anyway, so up in the mannequins, there's a bunch of mannequins, as you'd expect. One has
and
a
they also
rock
say,
in
like,
its...
she's up in the mannequins, which is like 40 feet away from where they were standing earlier. It's
right
on
there.
the same set.
Oh. One of the mannequins has a rock in its head. One is Nicolas Cage's fifth wife inside of it moaning. One is a member of that BTS boy band, I think. And one has our girl Bernice in it, who he uncovers just her eye and she tries to put it back because she wants to be a mannequin or something. And I don't fucking... like, what the fuck was this supposed to be? Like, she's trying to hide away in like a different mask or something because she's been raped. I think that's what they were going for. I think that's what these characters are supposed to be, is like...
And the Babadook is like trying to... says he's trying to protect him or whatever. Like, he's trying to cover him up. And
yeah, maybe.
Could be, the symbolism for like retreating into yourself and shutting down that abuse, people with abuse that go through.
Yeah.
That's why she loses her voice and like...
Yeah. And she doesn't want to come out of this mannequin. It's just all sorts of weird.
Again, it's like, okay, pick your nuclear Holocaust allegory and run with that. Don't
put a little rape
do that,
allegory
but then
in
also
there.
throw like an abuse allegory and stuff into it and mix them together to see what happens. Just so
and a bunch of references to other Nick Cage movies for some reason too.
Right. And like put it in a Mad Max setting.
Yeah.
That David Lynch directed. Like
the stew is just getting thicker and thicker, you know? Nick fucking with these mannequins really pisses off that vampire in the top hat or whatever. So he does, well, exactly what you'd expect him to do in this movie by now. He shouts nonsense at him the whole time and spits on him as he talks.
The ghosts exploit their fear. They want power and freedom.
Did you see how like spraying spit on him while he talks? Like, ugh, yuck. This is in the COVID times, man. I think it was filmed pre-COVID.
It's pre-COVID.
This is pre-COVID.
This came out in 2021, though. This is where I was going to say it started over in that region somewhere, I've heard.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. Bernice doesn't want to leave her protective mannequin cocoon, and the vampire guy says...
Little Cookie, stay with us.
I guess,
Very
like
sexual.
Like I said, I think he's trying to protect her. Like, I think that's what we're thinking it is here. He tells her to talk. Hero does, and Enoch says that power has been taken from her. So Nick grabs her by the arm and says,
Your grandpa sent me to get you now. Time it up. Fuck home.
She reluctantly goes with him eventually, and on the way out, you guessed it, everyone shouts nonsense at them in unison. Oh, and vampire guy fits the blue-haired girl with her own mannequin cocoon. Neat.
Also got a note when he grabs her arm, his arm beeps. Like, it's gonna blow his arm off for touching her or something.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Yeah.
He has
his chastity suit.
Strike a helpless woman.
Yeah. Ultimate chastity belt.
Which I guess he's pulling her later on when it goes off.
Yeah.
But he's being attacked by those zombies or whatever.
Yeah, I thought it was because he was trying to smack some of the zombies were women. Because I don't think arm. I don't think he had Bernice with that arm that blows up. He was trying to grab her with the other arm, and then I think he was like smacking the victim. Maybe it's trying to imply that those are innocent victims as well.
Maybe.
Who knows?
Whatever.
Stop trying to make sense of it. Yeah. Stop.
Yeah.
Act 2. Let's get some motivation up in this thing.
Hero carts Bernice to the nearby abandoned oil refinery, or whatever the hell this mismatch of concrete structures is supposed to be, where he bumps into Ratman and his Rat Clan, who are busy turning trucks into Pimp My Ride style carnival rides or something stupid. Ratman has an insanely annoying robot voice box thing that makes him sound like a garbage disposal taking a shit in every scene while wearing what I can only describe as crow wings made of wires with Christmas lights inside of them. Every single detail of this film is like describing the ramblings of a child who just huffed paint thinner for the first time. Anyways, Nick steals some of Ratman's gasoline while he screams incoherent gibberish, and some girls laugh nearby. He then fills up the Toyota Celica the townspeople gave him earlier that he wrecked because he drove it as some cosplayers or ghosts or whatever the goddamn hell happened in that fucking scene. He tries to get Bernice to speak into his Predator-style arm radio box thing so he can extend his time to 5 days, but she's busy, still being a mannequin or whatever the fuck she's doing. He tries to choke her into saying her name, which, usually works like a charm, but he's stopped by the explosive device in his jacket that magically reads his thoughts. So he calms himself instead of karate chopping her like I'm sure he wanted to do.
I did too. I don't know.
At
this point, I just wanted to karate chop everybody in the movie.
Mm-hmm. Me too. He takes off her mannequin pieces while saying,
"Take it off. Take it. Take it off. Baby, take it. Take it off."
Then notices a scar on her leg, which prompts him to ask,
"Oh, that's quite a scar you got there. You did that roller skating?" Woo!
As you do, as you say, it's totally relatable.
We're supposed to,
This is the rape scene of the film.
He gets increasingly more rapey as he yells to her to take off the mannequin parts, and then makes her open her mouth like a blow-up doll and pours water in her mouth. I guess because he didn't want to get cooties from her lips on the canteen.
Hey, COVID.
Yeah, he's being conscious.
We're all new normal.
Yeah. This is how we have to pour water into our loved ones' mouths from now on.
He laughs and says,
"Oh, yeah."
at the sight of water spilling out of her mouth like she was just bukkakied or something. This makes him horny, I guess, because an explosive next to his junk blows off one of his testicles.
This is where I was like, okay, yeah, they're definitely going for a rape thing, because she's like just sitting there like taking it. She's like, she's resigned herself to this. And she's just, her mouth is just, she's used to this kind of thing because of the governor. And like, this is what she expects from men, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
But I never got the implication that he was actually going to rape her.
No, but I think he was getting turned on, Yeah. And and we, as an audience, are supposed to imply the rapiness. I don't think that him in the scene was actually trying to rape her. Right. I think it was supposed to be a metaphor.
We're projecting our own fantasies upon the actions.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, you said that, not me.
I was just reading a review from Paul Schrader.
Reading a review from Science Sono.
Allegedly. He runs around shrieking in a very cagey way while holding his blown off testicle, then stares at it and says something in Japanese that wasn't translated in the subtitles before passing out. If that barn burner of a scene doesn't make Nicolas Cage's lifetime achievement real, then what has this all been about?
What? I don't speak Japanese, obviously. What the hell did he say when he's looking at his testicle? He says something in Japanese, It's translated sometimes and it's not translated in other times. And I think it's supposed to like, oh, we're supposed to look it up. Like we would give a fuck about looking up a random line from this nonsense.
Also, I can't write Japanese. So.
Yeah.
Right.
Am I supposed to put it in Google Translate up to the TV? And
Good idea.
what do you want from us, Science Ono? What do you want from us?
Yeah. We're just trying to enjoy ourselves.
He just wants to force his movie upon us. His movie.
Just force it down our throats. Like that canteen water.
Oh God, we're gonna get shadow banned. Anyways, Bernice stares condescendingly down at Lance Armstrong. I mean Nick for 1 minute as he bleeds out while flashing back to that stupid crap about the bank again. We see the usual treat of sights we've enjoyed the first 40 times. Stupid masks, pinwheels, nincompoops passing giant gumballs around, bubbles. You get the drift by now. Here,
So you think that these balls, the gumballs that they're throwing around in his flashback or her flashback, whoever the hell, it's like supposed to be hers, but he's passed out because he's having a dream or whatever the hell. So you think that those balls have some sort of meaning towards potentially the rape allegory?
Maybe. I mean, it could also be like the runaway chain reaction of a nuclear explosion. You know, like that's what causes a nuclear explosion is the molecules all going haywire. Like that's supposed to be the bomb going off. Because he really liked that effect of the gumball machine exploding and all those balls fly because he shows it over
like
and over and over
times,
again. So if we're still using the nuclear bomb part of the story allegory, then maybe that's what that was supposed to be. Yeah, the atoms.
I like
going
that.
Haywire.
Okay, I could see that.
Okay.
Yeah, it's back to the nuclear bomb thing, not the child abuse thing or the rape thing or the American imperialism thing. It's one
or the
allegory
old
at a time.
Japan thing, or the Japanese mythology thing, or the glory hole in the wall. I don't think that's part of it.
The truck stop theme.
Or the time theme.
Hero and Nick Cassavetes stroll down the street with their guns out under a fun sign that reads, "Citizens pay your taxes or die like dogs." This is when I started to wonder if they must be in Florida. We see the whole bank scene again, open flame torches, everyone dressed in matching colorful pantsuits and raincoats. That whole scene again, except this time we see eyeliner sporting Nick Cassavetes shoot at the smiling gumball kid, but Hero stops him. They fight for a sec, and Nick Cassavetes goes full Mr. Blonde from Reservoir Dogs and just blasts everyone in the bank, including that little kid. Hero wakes up and is horrified at what his buddy just did and screams,
Your medication!
I can't fucking stand this movie.
Take your medication? No, did you? Or did you take your medication?
Oh, yeah. Did you take your medication?
Later he says, like, you have a couple of shots of whiskey in you. You are the greatest. So was his medication whiskey? That's what calms him down to not murder people, not murder children.
Now it's an allegory for alcoholism.
Supplement.
Prefix. You take your prefix.
Prefix. Bullshit, man.
You ever seen yourself drug out of the street and have your testicle blown off until you piss blood?
That would have been so much better. Their fighting leads them to the street, accompanied by gumballs from that giant gumball machine we watched explode 18 times in slow motion when eyeliner shot at the kid the first time. All the doofuses in Cat Mask Town stare at these two fighting in the street until the cops show up. We see a woman and a kid who are the only people not wearing masks in this dream or flashback or whatever the fuck it is, who are immediately blasted by the cops while they try to shoot the bank robbers, which I have to say was pretty nice to see. There's at least some realism in this movie. And if we wanted to be more current, we'd say those cops would have just sat outside the bank until everything resolved itself.
Yeah. Then shoot them afterwards. Shoot the passerbys in.
Yeah.
My kid's in there. He's got a gumball machine.
It'll be fine.
You can't go in there, woman.
Anyway, yada, yada, yada. The kid turns out to be Bernice. Her mom died. The governor took Bernice as his granddaughter / love slave. And somehow this is all Hero's fault since he ran from the cops. Also, Nick Cassavetes yells that Hero is a traitor as he's arrested and seems perfectly fine despite being shot like 8 times by the cops.
There's a lot of that in this movie. People getting shot and being perfectly fine afterwards.
Yeah.
Well, we cut back to One Nut and Bernice, which is starring this fall. One Nut and Bernice, where Hero realizes who she is thanks to his ball being blown off triggered flashback.
We've all had one of those, right? Like,
Hey, Lois, remember that time I had my ball blown off?
Reminds me of the time I went to the bank.
Let's say South Park making fun of Family Guy, making fun of Prisoners of the Ghostland.
He tells her he's sorry he got her shot. Whoopsies. And then the horn of Gandor, or the sound the ship makes from the War of the Worlds, suddenly
Gondor.
sounds. Gondor. What is it? Gandor?
Gandorf.
Gandorf.
Gandalf.
Then Gandorf the wizard comes
Calls
in.
Gondalf to show up.
Gondorf. He tells her he's sorry that he got her shot. Whoopsies. Then the horn of Gondor. Hold on.
Jesus. Be more of a dork. God. We have Entertainment Earth sponsorship now.
You too can get the horn of Gondor. What the hell just happened?
The horn of Ognor.
He tells
The
her he's sorry he
Ocarina
got
of
her
Gondor.
He tells her he's sorry that he got her shot. Whoopsies. And then the horn of Gondor, or the sound the ships from War of the Worlds suddenly sound from a distance.
It's the horn of Abraxas.
It's the horn of
Braxis is easy to remember. We see the cosplayers again, this time accompanied by some dudes in prison outfits crawling on the ground like something out of The Ring, moaning like radioactive zombies while the Freddy Krueger looking dude watches on sporting aviators. You guys just gotta take a moment here and let that sink in.
See, that feels like a character that, you know, you would just design as an action figure. And it's not like actually something that would show up in a real movie.
The description is like, you know, when you're a kid and you're like, oh, yeah, you learn about fire and you get a lighter and you start melting your toys.
Put some aviators on him.
Put some aviators. Oh my God, he's a badass. He survived a horrific battle.
and he went to prison. He's got a prison outfit on.
And now he's in a bus.
He's got a bus. And he's got some prison guys who crawl on the ground and some samurais. Oh, and that guy from the Capitol riot.
Oh man, Hero battles the zombies for a bit before another explosive goes off on his elbow, which sends the zombies away, but does very little to Nick. It's not the most effective explosive jacket, I guess. Then Freddy Krueger and the zombies all just disappear like Ghost in this Ghostland.
So it looks like nothing happens to him, but he's like, oh, I got one arm now.
Yeah,
and
apparently it disables
you
his
have like a
arm.
flesh wound just on the top of your arm, and you're able to bend your arm and fight with it. You literally kill a fucking samurai with it later
bleed
on
out.
in the movie. Yeah, just fine.
But that was after he put the metal on it.
Yeah,
like,
well,
that's just a
that
flesh
fixed it. Okay. Mm-hmm. Makes sense now. But then the testicle thing is also like, wouldn't he have bled out from that too?
Yeah.
Or went into shock.
Why is he able to walk around?
Somehow popped his testicle out from inside of his scrotum and the leather jacket onto the ground.
Yeah. Perfectly formed.
As all things should be. Hero passes out again thanks to his elbow being turned into a hamburger, and it cuts to he and Bernice standing awkwardly in front of the giant clock from earlier, and the Aurora Borealis or something. Well, Flavor Flav screams, "Yeah, boy!" in the distance.
Should have had Flavor Flav show up with a clock.
That would have been perfect.
Everybody's holding down the second hand on his clock.
They listen to the nutcases from earlier. thank God they're back, reciting a story with some super cool graphic novel visuals in unison about how there was a massive nuclear power plant on this spot with the clock. Underneath it was nuclear waste, which was transported down the road, and the truck carrying it hit a group of convicts in a prison bus, which turned them into the stupid characters who are now ghosts or some shit.
Yeah, the nuclear explosion didn't obliterate them. It turned them into mutants.
So the buses colliding caused a huge nuclear explosion, but I ain't no expert when it comes to nuclear waste, but I'm 100% positive that wouldn't happen. But sure, movie. Sure it would.
Nuclear waste. So if two barrels knock into each other in Hanford, it would just cause a giant explosion.
Right. No.
We're not talking about like the chain reaction that causes an explosion. It's nuclear waste.
They said the trucks were hauling like magma, like molten nuclear waste.
Magma.
Like how?
Right.
It's not like it's hot
magma.
I mean, I guess it is radioactive stuff can be warm, but like I don't think they transport like lava, radioactive lava around.
Maybe
causes a huge explosion, which turns guys into the Toxic Avenger.
Yeah.
So the explosion mixed with the nuclear waste below ground, causing everything to explode and get radioactive. Blah 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 blah. You get the idea. It's science.
Yeah, everything just turns radioactive. Nuclear waste.
This is science.
This
science, you know?
Spot like 10 feet from that town.
I'd rather listen to Imagine Dragons.
Radioactive.
And that's saying something.
Hero asks why no one helped, and these annoying bastards break into a Japanese monster voices, which isn't translated by the subtitles. So for the 1,000th time in this clusterfuck, we're all left baffled and annoyed. He asks how the hell he gets out of this place. Me too, Nick. I was wondering the same thing. And they again speak in untranslated Japanese monster voices. Seriously, fuck this movie. Why? They call him a hero for finding Space Cadet Bernice, and he wakes up on the ground. But they have Bernice in a mannequin thing, so he's a hero for rescuing her from them, then bringing her back to them? Like, I don't understand. Like, why is he a hero?
He's a hero because he came to rescue Bernice, who was being held in a mannequin by them.
By them.
But then he brings her back from the Ghostland to this compound of nuclear waste.
Or did she bring him back because he was passed out? But he's a hero. Who knows?
But that was in his dream, so that didn't actually happen.
Right. And yeah, in fact, like, did any of that last scene actually happen? Like, we're talking about now, but could you guys honestly tell me what the fuck is going on? Like, what the hell is going on in this film?
It's just literal gibberish at this point.
Yeah, I know. I gave up. Well, if it becomes a certain point, if you watch this movie, you'll just give up. And just, if you don't turn it off. If you have to, most people will just turn it off.
If you're critically thinking, I think if you're not, you're just kind of like, oh, cool, colors.
Just get stoned and watch this movie.
Lots of neat colors. There's gumballs. Pretty.
Gumballs.
Pretty.
Oh, I love gumballs,
man.
Oh,
cat masks. Cool. That guy's got a robot voice. Torches. Neat.
Bernice finally comes around and says her name into Hero's arm, giving him an extra 2 days to live. She screams like a nutcase for Hero to get up. The locals must really be wearing off on her. But that fun is interrupted by the film cutting back to Kabuki Cowboy Samurai Town. We see the governor surrounded by his harem of granddaughters who call him the greatest and most powerful clock. And your second hand is sharp and more dangerous than a knife. I just wanted to make sure that I emphasize clock because it could be mistaken with another word.
Like, we get it, right? There's a ton of symbolism intended in this film, but it's so goddamn confusing and presented to us in a thick haze of comically ridiculous gobbledygook that we're having a fucking aneurysm just trying to, like, sit down and analyze it.
Yeah.
If Sion Sono manages to outflank the legions of sexual assault victims currently after his head, my advice would be on his next English-speaking film to give us any coherence to latch onto so that the symbolism actually resonates and we're not scratching our fucking heads in baffled confusion for 2 solid hours or however long this movie is. Hour and 40 minutes.
Hour 40.
Oh, I felt every second of that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He could have easily added another 30 minutes of just stupid shit to this. So thankfully he didn't.
It does feel like this movie was a lot longer and then got hacked apart in the editing.
I guarantee you it got
Do you think it made sense?
Quite a bit.
Before they cut it down from 3
I don't think
or
it
4
did
hours?
because I don't know why they would cut it if they were trying to. I don't know. I felt like they were trying to make it some semblance of a.
Yeah. This
coherent
editor
movie.
deserves credit for putting together a movie that somewhat makes sense.
This
Makes
guy
sense.
who's only worked on short films somehow got tasked with this piece of shit. Had to somehow make sense out of all this crap.
Yeah.
Didn't do a great job. Sorry.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Hey, I think
who
he
knows?
did the best he could.
Yeah.
Probably
given
did the best he
material.
could.
We
what
don't
he
know
was
what the
handed.
original dailies and unedited and everything looked like.
When I watched this originally, I watched it on, I rented it, streaming rental. And there was like an extra scene, I feel like, of the governor marching down the street and all of them clapping in unison together down the road. And now it's like cut into a dream sequence in this. I swear that scene was in there. Maybe I just started hallucinating while I was watching it. But,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but I swear there was a longer scene of that shot. And maybe somebody was like, that's just ridiculous. Let's cut that out.
Editing after they already released the film.
Yeah, I think so. Because I just watched it when I did the breakdown. I watched it on Blu-ray. Which, by the way, the cover of the Blu-ray has Nick with 2 swords behind his back, which never happens in the film. Once, just wanted to point that out. But anyways, I watched that version of it, and for instance, Cats. It was re-edited when they brought it out on actual hard copies. Not that anybody bought that except for me.
He bought Cats.
He just really
I
into
have
those
Cats.
cat
I bought it from
bodies.
Loved Again Media because it's cheap on Loved Again Media. Loved Again Media is an excellent place to go for movies that you're like, I don't really want to pay for this movie,
Right.
But it's $4 and I get a discount code, so fuck it. I'll just buy it.
Yep.
Not that I'm not. This isn't a plug for Loved Again Media. That comes later.
Anyway, the governor is happy that his mentally handicapped robot holding granddaughter we met earlier, still not sure if she's handicapped. Maybe she's just weird or traumatized or supposed to be a kid despite being an actress in her 20s.
Yeah.
Isn't sitting on his lap with the other 30 girls he has catering to his every whim. So the
Going for
Cowboys...
some sort of like geisha thing here.
Yeah.
They sort of
Like
have
a
that
modern
like
geisha.
face paint later on, or that's a dream.
Yeah.
I don't fucking know. At some point, they have the face paint on for the geisha thing, and in this one, they have like partial face paint on. I don't know what that is.
That's the
One Cage
the movie
Podcast
has
at
that too.
gmail.com.
Yeah.
We don't have a fucking clue what's going on in this movie. If you can shed any light, if you're
Please
a
help
Japanese
us.
listener and some of this makes sense that we haven't been able to make sense of, write us at onecagepodcast at gmail.com so that we can dissect it. Oh my God. When we inevitably have to go back into this movie. Oh no. And back into the cage at some point. Once we launch, we haven't launched our Patreon, but we keep advertising it because someday we want to actually do that show at some point.
We just
And we
need
will
more
have to watch
viewers.
this piece of crap again.
Yeah. We just need more viewers to write in.
Yeah.
Help us. give
Help
some
us.
content.
Help us watch these terrible movies again.
Yeah.
Or don't.
well,
Please don't.
Well, the Cowboys force her over to him kind of for a second, but he interrupts them by saying Bernice has been gone for 2 days. Then he says,
Bring me America.
which causes his harem to shout some more gibberish in Japanese in unison because of fucking course it does. He calls for Samurai Guy to come to him with a paper bag full of money, which he throws at the girls while the governor says,
Make it rain, baby! Make it rain!
are you guys getting all this? So come sit on my lap, bring me America, chanting nonsense in Japanese, throw money at girls. All this makes perfect sense to me. It's just like,
I felt like parts of it were
Totally get
like,
it.
America coming in after World War II
Yeah.
and rebuilding the country. And
But it doesn't
throwing
make
money at
sense in the
girls.
fucking context of
Yeah.
a scene
Exactly.
like with real human beings. Like I
Right.
get that you want to put symbolism in there, but it has to be like just slightly veiled under actual story and actual coherence in the story you're trying to tell us. Not just 5 random things happen. Come sit on my lap. And then he just stands up when they start to bring her over. Bring me America. Then he throws money at the geisha girls, which I get it. I get what the symbolism is there. It makes sense. Okay. Good job. Good job. But it doesn't make fucking sense as a movie. It doesn't tell me. It's not a scene. You just
Yeah.
put 5 random things together and like.
Yeah, so much of this movie is just this happened, and then this happened, and then this happens. Or
not-
I'm being told, I guess. Like
It's not an actual like story. It's just symbolism for the sake of symbolism on top of symbolism. Like make a music video. If you want to
Yeah.
do this shit, make a music video. Don't make a fucking movie that's supposed to have a fucking storyline to it, okay? Damn it.
This movie broke Patrick.
Fuck it. We'll get into it in the review, but this is my least favorite movie we've ever talked about on this show.
should we put you in a mannequin so we can heal and be safe?
Get him in a
Please,
mannequin
please
outfit.
save me. Please
Little
save me.
cookie.
Little cookie, stay with us.
Little cookie.
I want to stay with that vampire guy and have him spit on me.
All right. Well, the girl. So the girls shout and scream for the money, while the governor yells for the cowboys to bring him all his daughters, including Susie, just a handicapped girl, because he wants her fresh, young body, which causes Susie to scream, "Stop!" The governor whips around and says,
Do you know when Bernice is coming back? Do you?
"Now I ain't a grammar expert, as you all know, but." Fuck it, just never mind. This it's like Tommy Wiseau or Japanese and tried to write a plot as confusing as a Christopher Nolan movie in broken English. That's what this fucking movie reminds me of.
Did you know when Bernice is coming back? Do you?
That makes me look good at English. It only gets better from here. He then says, "Tick tock, tick tock. Time waits for no one." I'm guessing he's a big fan of TikTok.
Yeah, it's a big
and he was trying to get them all around and do some TikTok dances with them.
Maybe that's what this has all been about. Like,
when
the
credits
girls
started, it should
filming
have showed the TikTok logo, like when you're watching a TikTok at the end of a TikTok video.
Maybe that's what like the girls were filming a TikTok video of Nick in the diaper at the beginning.
Put in some
That's where the
music.
TikTok started, and it just got more and more insane from there. And that's why all the dancing
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay,
Oh
I
my
got
gosh,
it.
it makes sense. Well,
We've
he
been
then makes
we've been
her repeat
TikToked,
it.
guys.
We've been TikTok. We have a TikTok. Follow us, like, subscribe,
do.
whatever it is. Yeah, we got a TikTok. We will be dancing on there eventually.
I'm just gonna draw Nick Cage's cock and put it on the TikTok.
TikTok Nick Cock.
Hashtag TikTok Nick Cock.
please start that. Hashtag Nick Cage TikTok.
I will.
Whatever.
I'll wait.
Nick
I'll wait
Cock
to this
TikTok.
episode, and then I'll hashtag it on this episode, and moving forward to be on every episode. Anyways,
Until
he
it
makes
happens,
her-
until we get cock in, we get confirmed Nick Cage cock in a movie that we do.
Yeah.
Write us a hashtag
I don't think it's gonna happen.
Nick Cock TikTok.
It'll be our hashtag Save the Snyderverse. So
Start a
release the
petition.
Snyder Cut.
or re-release Morbius. Okay. So he makes her repeat it. So Overbite Girl obliges over and over like a nutcase, while Samurai Guy looks on with a melancholy frown for some reason. Then Fat Sheriff Cowboy yells, "The traitor has returned!" And we see, I'm guessing, the other girl that was in the car with Bernice and blue-haired girl at the beginning of the film. I'm guessing that's who it was. I didn't have the heart to go back and fucking verify.
no.
I rewatched the
could
beginning
not.
of the film, and it doesn't look like the same woman to me. So
So there's just
maybe
another
they couldn't
traitor.
get the actress back, or she just looks way different.
She
Maybe this
shot
is a
that
different
one
chick who
scene.
ran off, and they were like, okay, so we have to show what will happen to Bernice if she's caught and brought back.
I don't know.
I don't know, dude.
But he wants her back.
The real
I think
crime
that's what we were
is
supposed to go for.
Make the sex.
This was
real
the third
crime
girl.
is the director just forcing women to be in this movie.
Yeah.
That's what he's been doing the whole time.
They got roles, though.
All right, so the movie acts like we're supposed to know who the fuck this person is with some dramatic music. And the governor asks her if she seduced Bernice into leaving. So I guess Bernice really is his favorite girl to rape from his harem. I guess that's
She does seem like it's his favorite.
She's the only
she's his
non-Japanese girl, so
Yeah, she's
I
exotic.
guess maybe
I
he's
guess.
got an exotic taste. I don't know. I don't want to read into that. I have no idea.
Yeah, there.
Could be a Science Sono thing.
Anyways, moving on. Samurai guy pulls out a plastic looking rose I guess he had tucked up his ass and pops it on her shirt, then chops her head off. Meanwhile, the governor keeps repeating tick tock, well, Overbite Girl, the cowboys, and all the other girls repeat tick tock in unison. This is a great scene, you know. Fucking hate every nonsensical moment of this fucking film.
Just absolute visual splendor.
We cut to the preacher guy, Enoch, reading from his Heathcliff comic book or something, while the weirdo morons of the Ghostland shout at each other about how Bernice shouldn't have left the safety of their wacky nightmare world. Some overacting ensues, and Bernice shows back up to tell them Nick Cage is dead. They're all shocked that she could speak now. You know, that power had been taken away for like a day or something, and the preacher guy says no one escapes the Ghostland when she says they were attacked. This is making insanely good sense. This is just,
So he says
I
in
guess
the very last scene that she'd been gone for 2 days. So she lost the ability to speak because she ran into those ghost guys.
Yeah, I guess. And she showed up
the
mute,
first
except
time
she also
She showed up
We
mute.
know, but
woke
she
up
said,
and screamed, I'm not a prisoner.
Yeah,
Yes.
but then she was mute. Maybe she became a mute because she became a mannequin, and mannequins don't speak.
So was
I
that
don't know.
I'm not a prisoner scene maybe a flash forward from something that happened later on? Because it's exactly the same scene that happens later.
Yeah.
When they wake up before they're supposed to like all go together and fight the ghosts that just fuck off and leave for no reason because Nick
fuck
Cage is
if I
friends
know.
with the head ghost.
Who fucking knows? We cut to Ratman and his rat clan doing stupid shit while Nick Cage strolls into some Ennio Morricone sounding cowboy hero music. They all stare at him with dumb looks on their dumb faces while some girl who cuts her own hair rings a bell while screaming gibberish. I guess Bernice is pretty stupid because she thought Hero was dead, but here he is to save the day or something. Who the fuck knows or cares anymore at this
Yeah,
point?
it's so great that we had all that time spent with Hero dead off screen. You know,
Yeah.
all 30 seconds of it, and then he shows up again.
30 seconds. He's
feel
dead.
like-
Oh no, he's just with Ratman.
No, he's fine. Yeah. I feel like this was like a callback to who's the guy who does the spaghetti westerns?
Sergio Leone.
Sergio Leone. So I feel like this was a callback to something. I feel like there were a couple scenes similar to this where like the hero rides in and the little girl goes and rings a bell and it lets everybody know, oh, he's come back, the
Yeah.
hero's returned or whatever. But we didn't have any setup at all for that. He's just like, oh, Tarantino steals from Sergio Leone, so I will take from Sergio Leone and just put it in my movie for no reason.
Pans out.
I mean, I'm sure
Checks
that's
out.
exactly the thought process that went into this. I like a Tarantino. Do a Tarantino thing.
Fucking do a Tarantino thing.
He likes feet. I like rape.
Allegedly.
How come he gets to use the word and I don't get to say it? I need to be friends with Jamie Foxx.
Okay, so everyone stares at him like he's the second coming of Christ, or something. And Bernice runs to him while Nick Cage stares at them all with a crazy, weird as hell look on his face. Like, even for Nick Cage, it was bizarre. This is what I'm telling you. Like, yeah, Face Off. I see Face Off. I see Troy. No, just joking. I don't see it at all. Fucking dumb thing for
the face is kind of. It's like, you know, the Joe thing where he's like, yeah, make a smile and then, or make a frowny face and then try and smile through it.
And smile.
Yeah.
Smile through it. Yeah.
Yeah.
He says, I always had the same dream. While the town clods ask, what did you see in unison? He says he saw the ruins, the people standing there, suffering, in a delivery that even for Nick Cage is over dramatic and ridiculous. He goes on to say that all the people he harmed came to him yesterday to help him, and with an increasingly crazed look on his face, he says, they helped me because I'm radioactive. What? The fuck? What's the fuck?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Does that mean?
Sure.
That's totally earned.
That's why he murdered those children and they came to help him.
Yeah. He sees flashes of his victims posing for YouTube album covers, which tell him they'll give him another life, you know, like a video game, because he has a duty to complete, all while Bernice stares at him like he's her dad come home from the war or something. Or come home from getting that pack of cigarettes 12 years ago he said he was going out to get.
Maybe that's what this is. It's like some sort of father thing.
Sure.
Like he's supposed to be dad.
Yeah. Yeah, throw that on there too.
Throw it hero. Sure.
Throw it in the allegory stew and mix it up.
Just mix it up into a pile of shit that we're forced to choke down.
It's like if you mixed a bunch of beautiful colors all together, eventually they all turn brown and it just looks like
gross.
Garbage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like that's cool. You can do that. You drop ink in things and swirl it, and it looks really cool. And
For a second, and then eventually it just turns brown.
You just keep throwing more colors into it and keep stirring it. Yeah. It's perfect. It's
nonsensical
a perfect
stew. Yeah.
It's a perfect allegory for this movie, which this movie could have used a few more perfect allegories.
Yeah. Instead of muddled insanity.
Act 3. Time to resolve some shit.
We cut to Samurai Town, where the lovely inhabitants of the other set in this film that's not built on top of radioactive waste disposal sites enjoys a quite nice quiet evening that is rudely interrupted by some goofy-looking dude with a rape stash that calls out Yasujiro, a.k.a. Samurai Guy, to come out and fight him in the street. The movie acts like we're supposed to know who this is, but like every other thing that's happened so far, we don't really have an actual clue.
No idea.
Apparently he knows Yasujiro.
I think the idea was to introduce Yasujiro's sister.
Yeah, sure.
But in a very, very, very forced way.
Yeah. Yasujiro jumps down from a balcony to find like 20 dudes who appeared out of literally nowhere waiting for him. Oh, and the rape stash guy just disappears until like 20 minutes from now in the movie for some one scene. For some reason. Yasujiro's sister screams nearby. Why not? That she knows he's only there because the governor said he'd let her go if he worked for him. But she knows that's a lie and he'll never let him go. And then Yasujiro seems to agree because he kind of has this resigned look like, yeah, I know.
So I guess
killing people.
This was all just to like set up why Yasujiro's there and what his motivations are.
Right. Sure.
But then he still tries to kill Nick Cage. Like, spoilers.
Yeah. I mean, I honestly, I was wondering that. Like, why is this guy working for the governor, you know?
Yeah.
I figured it was like anything. He just gives him money. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like there
didn't need this whole
could have
B
been
plot.
an easier way to...
Yeah.
Yasujiro, get over here or I'll kill your sister. You know that. There you go.
Yeah.
Yeehaw. No, get over here, Yasujiro.
The film cuts to the Babadook vampire top hat guy putting people in mannequin suits, and then heads spinning around in the glory hole, cuts out of a red wall, then the governor marching down the street with townspeople, then Bernice waking up from a nightmare. So was everything part of a nightmare? The samurai guy killing 20 guys in the street? Or was that real? Or, or was it all a nightmare? Who knows? Who cares?
I thought that maybe that's why it was supposed to be more surreal in that, but I just think it was bad.
You can't tell. Everything is
filmmaking
surreal.
Because like those 20 guys just appeared out of nowhere. They weren't there at the second before.
Yeah.
And then Rape Stash Guy just disappears completely.
Ninja.
And they needed a cool scene
There we
where
go.
Yasujiro samurai fights a bunch of people because
For no fucking reason.
because
And it also
the director
happens.
watched a lot of samurai movies,
Yeah.
which are cool.
He also,
but
yeah. You gotta have a villain.
Maybe the villain of this movie is San Sono. Maybe that's what we were supposed to get
I think he's the villain. Yeah, I think he's definitely the villain.
yeah.
in life.
Allegedly.
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 All right, we cut to all the guys holding down the second hand of the big clock, but this time it's accompanied by some horrible off-key singing. So that's fun. Hero wanders around Ghostland or whatever the hell we're calling this ridiculous concrete shithole, looking annoyed by all the idiots shouting nonsense, like the rest of us. He tells Bernice it's time to leave while the townsfolk make dumb faces and scream and stuff, but you probably guessed that's what they're up to. Hero makes a big, over-the-top, ridiculous speech to the Ghostlanders about how he's leading these obvious credits to society out of the Ghostland and back to the normal world, if that's even a thing in this fucked up reality of Science Zono's imagining. But he's now the Messiah, I guess. So because the movie said he is, so that's what we got to go with.
Yeah.
Wait, so
part
is
of
this
the
like-
prophecy.
Is
It's
this
got
like
red blood.
symbolism for the
got it now.
Japanese
It's in his blood.
finding Christ?
Yeah, maybe,
Christian
maybe that's what it
missionaries
is.
showing up and leading them out back to their
I
hellscape.
mean, I'm sure there are some people who think that was, pre-World War II. They were more into Shintoism and all that kind of stuff. And then they found Christ because it was forced upon them by
was
the
dropped
Western
from the
world.
sky.
It was dropped from the
Twice.
sky on them a few times.
The power of God compels
Maybe that's
you.
what this
Sure.
is. Maybe he's
Add it to
supposed
the
to be
stew.
Christ. Okay.
Yeah, add it to the stew.
All right.
He says, so Hero says, if you'd have told me 3 days ago I'd be trying to reason with you bitches with one arm and one testicle, I'd have thought it was impossible too. And he also says bitches like he does in exactly like he does in Wicker Man when he's yelling at him all trying to break his legs. You bitches!
You bitches!
Killing
me will bring your goddamn honey back.
He says that they can stop them, and Bernice says if they don't, they'll break free and rule the world. The dopey radioactive zombie prison guys, just 12 of them, and they don't really seem to do anything. What? That's what everybody's scared of? The prison zombies who stand around outside of a bus, they're going to rule the world or something? This is where the movie's going now? Or is he trying to talk about, the governor's going to rule the world or something?
Yeah. I don't know.
Anyway, it's
I'm guessing that
Hero's
it's
going to go back and
symbolism
stop
again.
both of them. Yeah, sure.
Radioactivity will take over the world if we don't stop this from spreading.
Yeah, I mean, nuclear proliferation and all that, maybe. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, They're still holding down the second hand on the doomsday clock, trying to stop it from hitting not midnight, but whatever. We'll get to that.
8:15.
Yeah, Hero says he's still got 1 day to tear this shit apart, so they can either help him or rot, even though they literally just stay there.
I think they planned to rot there.
Yeah, that's what they wanted to do this whole time.
And they're
They were
super
telling
excited
him.
when they get to rot in that
Right.
place.
That's what they wanted. Yeah, they don't. It's not like they're being kept there. It sounds like they just want to stay there. Next, we see Ratman and his Rat Clan doing stupid things as they're prone to do. Hero says, "Hey, Ratman, I know you're intelligent," which is categorically false, and goes on to say, "Oh, you make a deal. I'll give you some cheese and maybe some pickled fish." Just wall to wall utter drivel. Then he sees Ratman and says, "There you are," because Science Sono also saw the Nick Cage movie we've watched and decided to rip lines directly for this film.
Rabbit! There you are! There you are!
Ratman, Hero,
I don't know
Bernice-
if that was an intentional homage to Vampire's Kiss, but he does
It had
point
to
and he
be.
goes, "There you are,"
yeah.
but not in the same way because I'm sure Nick Cage just didn't want to do it that way. He probably was, it's like
It's like this movie doesn't deserve a Vampire's Kiss reference.
or Kevin Smith talking about how when he was doing that that's terrible movie that he did with Bruce Willis.
Live Free or Die Hard?
No, the other
Cop
one.
Out? Cop Out?
Cop out. He said he told Bruce Willis to give him a delivery from how he did in Moonlighting, which was a TV show that Bruce Willis did in the 80s. And he was like, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to reference something I did 30 years ago.
I'm not a fucking monkey.
Stupid movie.
Yeah, it's like, I'm not going to do the dance.
But then he actually did deliver and gave him exactly the same line read that he did in Moonlighting. So I'm assuming that was what Silent Sona did, and Nick Cage eventually was like, no, I'm not doing it the way that I did in that movie.
Ratman, Bernice, Hero, and all the other stupid characters in this wasteland work together to fix like 20 rusted out cars that have been sitting there being welded on and torn apart by Ratman and his gang of Lost Boys for God knows how long. Oh, and Nick Cage does the "Alas, poor Yorick, I knew him well" line from Hamlet to a football helmet, because why not?
Alas, poor Yorick, I knew him well.
Except the subtitles have stopped giving a fuck about this movie too, because according to them, he says, "The last poor you are, I knew him well." I don't know if you saw that.
Even the people doing the subtitles.
Yeah. The algorithm automatically doing subtitles or stop caring.
Just turn auto on. Who cares?
The last poor you are, I knew him well.
Maybe that's why the Japanese isn't translated in this movie. It's just the subtitle people gave up.
Yeah, they fucking
like the rest of us.
Then a guy just freaks out for no reason, saying they're all going to die if they touch blue butterflies. You know, the thing about words is sometimes they have to make sense when you put them together. It also helps if sentences go together and form like coherent thoughts or something.
So
anyway,
he sees a blue butterfly later on at the very, very end of a town that isn't the town that they're in, but a future town that they're in. But I have to assume there was some symbolism to the blue butterfly thing that went completely over my head, and I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
Something to do with nuclear?
Sure. I don't know.
Or Japanese mythology.
Maybe.
Could be.
I just don't know or give a shit
us
anymore.
Ignorous gaijin, forgive us ignorant gaijin, but I don't know. Didn't make
Is
sense.
that Japanese? Gaijin?
Gaijin means white devil.
Yeah, it's
white
something
devil.
like that, or foreigner, or something like that.
yeah, it's like slang, like a disrespectful slang. So I learned that in Tokyo Drift.
Yeah, it's like saying whitey or something.
It's like saying cracker.
All my Japanese, all the stuff I know about Japanese culture came from Tokyo Drift.
Anyway, these assholes managed to fix all the shitbox cars they had lying around by sundown, and they decide to saw metal and cause sparks and dance around like children while they shit in their hands and hurl feces in the air, whatever the fuck is happening at this point. It looks cool, I guess. It looks nice. There's neon lights and carnival lights and sparks and stuff, whatever. The next morning, Hero screws some pieces of metal onto his arm because Ash Williams did it in Army of Darkness, I guess. While the girl who cuts her own hair watches him. What a great scene.
It's like Rambo suiting up.
Yeah.
Ready.
Except he just kind of goes, screws some stuff, and then goes.
He's the Tin Man.
He's the Tin Man.
I mean, is that so? The explosive was on his elbow. Maybe his elbow has been rendered helpless.
Useless, so he just sort of locks his arm in place with a metal.
There's no way he would be able to move his arm up and down without his elbow being able to operate. Mm-hmm. Even if he had that metal thing on his arm.
I thought that was the thing, though. Like, that thing was to lock his arm in place, and now he's got like a metal arm that he can hit stuff with or turn into a sword later on.
Just assumed there wouldn't be any logic to it whatsoever.
Yeah, well, because he does it in Army of Darkness.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Puts the metal gauntlet on and then crushes a thing.
Good enough.
The gaggle of doofuses heads out of the Ghostland together. After like 8 steps, they run into Freddy Krueger and his friends. Not even kidding. Bernice says, let's go. They take 8 steps. You can still see the clock tower right behind them. And they run into the ghosts. They don't even leave the set. Turns out Freddy Krueger was Nick Cassavetes the whole time, who saw that twist coming a mile away. Like, seriously. I didn't actually, but whatever.
The second he showed up in the first scene and like had his aviators on, I was like, oh, that's Nick Cassavetes.
Just to hide the eyeliner.
I was like, hey, isn't that the guy that directed The Notebook? What's he doing here?
Well, Hero is just stoked to see him and runs up to give him a big hug, but stops when he realizes he's gross looking. Then he asks Psycho, which I guess is the character's name, how he is, but Psycho says he's burning in nuclear hell like everyone else. You ever do that? You ever burn in fucking hell because your friend betrayed you? I think we can all relate since we've had to watch this movie. Hero says Psycho was so much fun when he had a couple of shots of whiskey in him, but then he started blowing up little kids. Again, we've all been there. Relationships are hard. It requires a lot of give and take to maintain a solid friendship for years. If I found out a friend of mine was blowing kids, I'd be devastated. Blowing up kids. Sorry.
I found out one of you guys was blowing kids.
I'm glad
You
we
used to
moved on
be
from
such
dead
a
jokes.
fun
Generally
person
frown on
with 2
that.
shots of whiskey in you. Then you started blowing kids.
I think that's what somebody said to Kevin Spacey once.
Yeah, I think so. Used to be great, man. You were 7 and all those great movies.
Then Hero gives some forced unearned line about how people he hurt actually needed him for help, which is the mother of all personal narrative choices to make in order to forgive yourself from killing children. Anyway, and Freddy Krueger and his goofy friends are all cool with letting the prisoners of the Ghostland go, since the real predators in this movie are the governor. Sure. Okay, whatever. At this point, I don't care anymore. I just want this piece of shit to wrap up. And then he does a little,
they spent all this time building up this epic
they even had a
battle between them
montage
and the ghosts, and then they're just like, oh yeah, sure.
No, go ahead. Cool. So then he does a little YMCA dance and a huge nuclear explosion happens, which causes all of the ghosts to vanish, I guess. Just a patchwork of utter nonsense. Like a finger painting done by someone with Parkinson's. Looks pretty, but it doesn't make any goddamn sense. We cut back to Samurai Town, which is what it's still called. Overbite handicapped girl plays with her toy robot while the governor does some slam poetry saying, "For the sake of me, birds will fall from the sky. Lions and tigers will bow before me. For the sake of me, mountains and forests would burn themselves down. For the sake of me, everything will be mine. Welcome to my animal farm. Long live Animal Farm." It's like when a teenager goes way into pot and poetry and thinks they've written the deepest shit ever, but it turns out to be absolute gibberish. Governor makes Jeremiah from Children of the New Dawn look like fucking Aristotle.
I was going to say, I think he ripped off those lyrics from a Nickelback song.
I thought you were going to go on another Yee thing. I was like, oh no.
No.
There it goes.
Anyway.
He's more genius than that.
I mean, that little thing that he says is exactly, for the sake of the white rich man, the whole world will fucking burn and lions and creatures will just bow before me. That all makes sense. I get that. And unlike that weird shit that the holes in the wall or the heads in the wall were saying earlier, that didn't make any sense. But but it may, like I said, I think it's something to do with Japanese mythology, and it probably would make perfect sense.
Yeah, we're missing
to
a whole
us.
bunch of references.
Yeah.
So then the whole town chants, "Long live the Animal Farm forever," over and over. I guess you could equate this movie to Animal Farm if you'd read Animal Farm on LSD and tried to rewrite it in Yiddish before having someone else translate it back into English. All animals are ghosts, but some animals are more radioactive than others. I like that.
Animal Farm, anybody? Anybody read Animal Farm? What's the actual? It's all animals are equal, but some animals are more equal than others.
Yeah. Because the pigs are capitalists. Or communists or something. I don't know. The horse is a communist. I don't remember. I read it when I was in 9th grade.
Yeah,
I liked it because it had talking animals.
That's what Orwell was going for, was get the kids in on it.
By the way, that they're chanting all this shit while just kind of standing in the street for absolutely no reason. Just what you do on Tuesday nights in Samurai Town. Streaming this fall, Tuesday nights in Samurai Town.
On after one nut and Bernice.
After one nut and Bernice.
Bernice and Hero show up at the end of the street, but no one saw them coming, including the crazy robot toy holding girl who was just looking in their direction the entire time this scene was happening. A cowboy guy yells, "There!" and points them out in case 30 people standing like a choir together all looking that direction couldn't figure out what he was talking about. The cowboys and ninjas or whatever surround them, and the governor is overjoyed to see his sex slave come back. He gives her a big hug, and Hero asks for the key to his explosive suit, to which the governor says, "I wouldn't give you a drop of piss, you degenerate," which is a phrase that pops into my head every time Ticketmaster charges me a convenience fee. Hero grabs Bernice and threatens to cut her throat, and for some reason, Susie, the little handicapped overbite girl, runs to a nearby minigun, like from Terminator 2, and just starts mowing everyone down in the town. Why the hell not?
This was so. I wondered here if Yasujiro only saw that, you know, he was like holding her captive and stuff, and that's why he fights him later on, and not that he and Bernice were together. That was my rationale.
I think it might just be he's wanted to fight this guy since he saw him take a bike because he looked so cool, and he wanted to test himself against it.
He saw his dong.
He did.
Envious.
As soon as he saw that dog, man. He's so cool.
Americans have such big penis.
He's a badass.
He's a badass.
So anyway, the robot girl shoots the cowboys, the samurais, the harem of granddaughters who inexplicably show up again in like 2 scenes, except everyone except Hero, Bernice, and the governor, who all watch on as baffled as the rest of us until another cowboy blasts her a couple times in the chest. Bernice and Hero are surrounded again, and Japanese cowboy shoots her for no reason whatsoever. So Hero charges these guys with guns who all just scatter rather than like shoot him. He football slides at them and starts beating them up while they all just stand there with guns pointed at him. None of them shoot. They just take turns being beaten up. Finally, he picks up a gun and they remember how to shoot on their own, but he shoots like everyone in the town, and they all die using the exact same death grunt sound effects from GoldenEye on the Nintendo 64. And what I honestly can't tell is supposed to be an intentional homage or if Scion Sono just pulled them from the same royalty-free sound effects CD from the early 90s. And I'll 2 guesses onto which one of those 2 is actually true. But it's seriously, it's like, wait, it's the same exact sound effects that you hear hundreds of times when you play GoldenEye, and it plays like 4 of them in a row while he's like beating all these guys up. Like, the sound effects are burned into my mind.
I mean, both things are very, very possible.
And it's the only time that I could tell that they use them in the movie, and it's like right there, right, one after the other. So I don't know.
I feel like there was a little bit of like video game stuff going on in this movie, like the
4 days on the arm
past.
tracker feels like video games. Like, you got 4 days to do this, and it's a fetch quest. Like, go get her. She'll talk into this. We'll give you 2 more days to come back, and
yeah.
So Scion Sono, also
big, big gamer.
Yeah, I mean, we know his attitude towards women, so that makes sense.
God damn it.
Bernice wheels Susie down the street in a cart, and she asks, "Bernice, am I going to die?" And she says, "Jesus, I hope so." Oh, wait, no. She says, "No, sweetie." And like 20 samurai guys pop out of nowhere and chase her down the street before Yasujiro stops her. He gives her a look and then kills the samurai guys, letting her go. Somehow, Nick Cage gets a samurai blade attached to his arm after punching a guy in the stomach. It's like fused to his fingers, like his hand's all mangled and holding this sword now.
Mm-hmm.
He had like a mannequin hand at the end, or
is that what it was?
Maybe when it was walking through, but then
so it was supposed to be like
it was like his arm was cut off and it's stuck in there.
Maybe that was his arm was supposed to have been blown off in the script, but they couldn't do it because it's hard to show that practically halfway through a movie.
How do you even do that? I don't know.
Yeah. Maybe he cut it off with a chainsaw like Ash Williams, and then they put a mannequin.
It was definitely, I think that's what they were going for, was that he had like a sword for an arm suddenly.
Yeah. Yeah, he's got a sword on his arm. And he kills like 5 guys surrounding him with it, despite not coming anywhere close to hitting them. He just sort of swings around in a circle and slashes all of them.
Yeah.
We see Bernice drop Susie in a neon light covered alleyway or something, and she says that she's not a prisoner anymore. She leaves her to die, hopefully, after telling her you'll be safe here, even though she's just laying out in the open in a well-lit street with a bunch
Governor
of people
finds her
murdering
like
everybody.
immediately.
Yeah. And then she must have gotten the skills of a samurai plugged into her head, like that scene where Neo learns to fight kung fu in The Matrix, because she's suddenly amazing at sword fighting. And by the way, you might recall that she was also shot a few minutes ago, but we'll just forget that detail for the rest of the film.
Yeah, that's not important.
So she kills like 4 samurai, and then that one guy from earlier with the rape stash just completely disappeared from that one scene. Who can forget that scene? And when she kills him, and then we get to watch blood spurt out of his chest for like 30 seconds, despite her slicing him across the throat. But that's a Japanese trope, I think.
Yeah.
Kill Bill style.
See, that was another Tarantino thing, I think.
Yeah.
But
it was just like egregious,
stole
like
from another samurai film and then put it into his film, and then Science Ono watched that film and put it into his film, and then there was one where they like sliced his throat in a lantern.
It sprays. Yeah. She slices the right side of his throat, and then the left side of it gushes a bunch of blood into the lantern, if you notice. So this is like she slices his throat, and then like from his chest, a bunch of blood erupts out.
Yeah.
Yasujiro catches up with Hiro, and I guess he missed the memo about him being a good guy or something, because he immediately attacks him. Like, what side is Yasujiro even supposed to be on at this point? Like, his sister is being held by the governor, so he fights for him, but he protected Bernice, who turned on the governor. So maybe it's like when Michael Scott forgot that he made the president the bad guy in Threat Level Midnight. Keep in mind that the governor said Yasujiro has never had a worthy opponent in his life, and is the baddest motherfucker in the whole movie. He and Hiro fight for a minute before Yasujiro kicks Nick in his missing testicle, which causes a bell to ring and both of them to stop and take a breather. Comedy. That's when he goes, fuck! I think too, right? After he gets hit. Fuck!
Yeah.
That's not a Cage moment.
He hit Yasujiro in the balls too.
Yeah.
Man.
They hit each other in the balls. He punches him, and then, the governor finds his harem looting his house. Wait, weren't they all shot a minute ago by the chain gun? They all call him a loser and bail. He goes looking for Susie while crying like a bitch into the night. What a great scene. So, like, the only power he had over these people was all that money. But does he not have a bank account? And now if he's rich, then why did 15 girls just take all his money? Like, how much money could he really have if they could all just cart it off and he just cries and runs away?
I get the symbolism of it. But again, it doesn't make any fucking sense in the context of this movie. That's the thing about symbolism, is you have to, like,
work it in with the story you're telling. Back to Yasujiro and Hiro, the highly trained expert swordsman, and the guy who was a bank robber, fighting in the street while cherry blossoms fall from the sky. But just FYI, cherry blossoms don't continuously fall from the sky year-round in Japan, but despite what a lot of movies seem to show. But it's cool, so he had to do it.
Yeah. Contractually obligated, if you're making any movie in Japan, you have to have cherry blossoms.
Yeah, you know that like 1 week out of the year where cherry blossoms fall out of trees? That's all year in Japan, apparently.
All year.
Anyway, they put their weapons away for a second. Then Yasujiro goes to kill Hiro, but Hiro slices him across the stomach, samurai movie style, and he dies. What an amazing end for an incredibly well-written and complex character. And I guess Hiro is a samurai, can fight with a katana like crazy now.
Yeah. Well, it's lodged into his arm, so it's just like part of him now, you know?
Sure, yeah. He can even bend his elbow, even though we saw him fuse his arm straight out. We see the governor has found Susie and that she's not stoked to be raped by Colonel Sanders in her dying moments, so she scurries away. Bernice pulls a gun on him as Susie rips the key to Hiro's suit from his neck. She unloads the gun into him after he calls her a back alley bitch and a slut, and so she says, from all the sweet bitches, after she kills him. Hero deactivates the explosive suit, and then he and Bernice share a long glance. Back in the Ghostland, the ragtag group of nutcases, I guess, we're supposed to give a shit about at this point in the movie, decide that the governor is dead and everything is just groovy now, even though they're still living in a radioactive nuclear wasteland. But
the ghosts took that away, though. They,
the nuclear explosion cleared the nuclear fallout.
Yes. Yes. Right. I think that's what they were going for. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how that works, right?
Yeah,
it's
use a nuke to
negatives.
blow away more nukes. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
After the tsunami, that's what they did at the power plant there. They nuked it.
Isn't that what the whole Cold War was about? The only way to stop a nuke is with more nukes?
With more nukes?
Or are they around to something?
Maybe that's what... I never want to give this guy credit, but maybe that's what he was going for.
How absurd it is. The concept. Well, all the villagers cheer and dance and sing stupid songs in unison and make stupid faces, the stuff that they're great at. And they decide that they are now, quote, free from time. So they let the clock start ticking again. And then the clock blows up when it hits 8:15 because that's the time that Hiroshima was bombed, I guess. But weren't they trying to stop the clock from blowing up? They even said it was going to blow up if they let it go, but now they're okay with letting it go because blowing up frees them.
But maybe the explosion would have been bigger if they would have let... So if the people of Japan would have used their nukes, then they would have been blown up. But now, white guy governor, so the other white countries with the bombs, Russia and us, we're no longer a threat. So now they can let time go and only their bombs go off.
Yeah.
Is this all just one big metaphor for the afterlife? Like, is this...
Yeah, that's kind of what I felt. I felt that the ghosts of the... One of the interpretations, I guess, at some point, depending on which scene you watch in the movie, I suppose, is that, like, the prisoners of the Ghostland are all the souls that were killed by the nuclear bomb, and this is, like...
Yeah.
They've ended the threat of nuclear superpowers, and now they can all be free and not have to, they didn't all die in vain or something. I don't know.
I thought maybe they were going for everybody in this movie is a ghost. And they are all battling each other in the afterlife, blaming each other for their deaths in some way.
Sure.
And now they can ascend to heaven or whatever.
Yeah. Well, either way, everyone's overjoyed and crying as their home blows up. And I think we would be too if we had any fucking idea what was supposed to be happening at this point. So maybe the movie will explain it at some point. Oh, what? Yeah. There's only a minute and a half left of screen time? Okay. But anyway, the next day, chickens poke at the bodies of hundreds of cowboys and samurais lining the streets while Hero, Bernice, and Susie with 3 gunshot wounds in the chest all wait for a bus. Hero sees a blue butterfly in a shop nearby where I guess the people of the town are just stepping over bodies to get on with their day, as if this is an acid flashback or something. And Hero says Samurai Town's going to be a beautiful place one day, and they all walk down the street chugging out of a flask. The end.
The end.
I think you're onto something there. It was like, this is all the afterlife, and they've all just been stuck in this hell forever, purgatory or whatever you want to call it.
And that's why nothing makes sense. It's almost like a Jacob's Ladder type of thing. Like, I don't know if you guys saw Jacob's Ladder, but it was like the entire movie is his like last moments of his brain synapses firing when he was killed in Vietnam. Spoilers for Jacob's Ladder, movie that came out 30 years ago, but that's what happens in that movie.
That's on my list to watch next.
Yeah.
So maybe that's what they're going for.
Makes as much sense as anything else.
We have a Coppola questions before we move on.
Okay, so Coppola questions here. What do you think the message of this film is? I know that's a tall order. What is the metaphor for the clock? Is it nuclear annihilation? Is the governor supposed to represent America? What do you guys think that this is all supposed to be about? This absolute gibberish.
Nuclear war bad.
Rape bad.
That's all I got.
I think there was a bit of a rape thing there.
Rape's bad. Nuclear war is bad. It was bad for the U.S. to launch nukes at Japan.
Yeah. And we're all doomed if we don't stop bombing each other.
Yeah.
Sure.
Or being scared of scared of ghosts,
Nuclear threat.
seeing ghosts in each other and nuclear proliferation and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
I hope we're not far off the mark. That's
I feel like we
the overall sense I get from the movie.
I feel like we did a pretty good job in the breakdown of figuring out sort of what the message is, whether it were throughout, but I don't know for sure. I don't even know if Science Sono knows. Maybe the girl who wrote it and the guy from Beer Fest can shed some light on.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's a symptom of he's directing. From what I've learned of him, is he writes and directs a lot of his own movies. So apparently they're more, coherent. At least
I really feel like he wrote the
Japanese
story,
cinema.
and then they came in and tried to make it coherent afterwards in English. Like I got to assume that it was he wrote it in Japanese, intending it to be a movie in Japan because that is all he had ever worked on up to this point, and then he decided because Hollywood was calling because he does have this reputation in Japan. And Nick Cage is obviously interested in his work. And so he had this kind of in to come over. And that's, what happened with John Woo, too, was like, he had built this big reputation in China. And then America started calling and he came over and did it. And he was wildly successful. I don't think Science Sono is going to be as successful as John Woo. But I forget where I was going with that, but he had this in to come to America.
Right.
And so he hired some people to translate his Japanese story that he wrote into an American screenplay, and this is what they came up with. And maybe, I don't know how good Science Sono's English actually is. Maybe he thought that this all made sense when he read it. like, oh, they translated my movie perfectly.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know.
Or maybe some version of it did, and then again it had to get cut down for something
maybe.
watchable, and we lost a bunch of context for things.
Yeah, I have a feeling the studio stepped in after, and they were like, "Yeah, we gotta try to make this coherent because it's
dying of the light at him."
Nonsense.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Or maybe having 7 studios is not a good idea especially if they all had creative input and you just had the thing butchered apart.
Yeah,
I would guess whoever had the most money invested was the one that made all the calls. Everybody else is just production companies, so employees and shit like that. I doubt all those studios were really given creative input.
It makes me wonder if the version that was shown at Sundance that came out in January is completely different from the version that came out on streaming in September. Also, maybe Saturn Films stepped in because Cage had all that heat coming off of Pig, and maybe he was like, we can't release this fucking insanity as is. We got to at least make this thing somewhat coherent.
Yeah, I could see that too.
I don't know. Yeah, for like Science Sono, please do not do what Paul Schrader did and bring out a new cut of this film in 3 years.
Please.
We are never going to watch that.
Hashtag
recut. What would it be? Because Dark was the Dying of the Light director's cut. The Ghostland.
Hashtag Ghost of the
Jail
Ghostland.
Ghosts. Jail phantasms.
Ghost of the Ghostland.
We could sort of answered this, but I don't think that it was meant to be. But do you think it was supposed to be in the future? Because the girls all have like modern day cell phones.
Yeah, I didn't even think that. I didn't think it was based in our world at all. I thought it was just a wholly fantastical setting. Or it's the afterlife, like you said. So nothing really has to make total sense. It makes a certain amount of sense, but it's not. It's based on our reality, but it's all fantastical stuff. You know, metaphors wrapped around it. I took the stance that it was just its own setting in its own world.
It's just so surreal from start to finish. And like the little town, the samurai town, is all just one street. That's all we ever see is kind of like, we sort of see like his compound, but it almost feels like it's just one of the doors like, that you open on that street.
Right off the street. That's a throwback to like those old spaghetti westerns, you know, high noon, middle of town.
Yeah, they build a set of like Main Street in the town. And that's
just Main Street.
And the Bloofer Bank is on this street the whole time, so we're just returning exactly to the scene of the crime.
Next to it.
Now that we've talked about it all this time, I do feel like this is kind of the afterlife, and everybody's living in purgatory.
Yeah, I think so.
It explains why like
all the sins,
the explosions didn't really kill him or maim him that bad or whatever.
Yeah. We clearly saw cops arrest Nick Cage during the bank robbery, but then all this insanity happens throughout the rest of the movie. We never see cops again. And
yeah,
do the cops not fight these ghosts?
How
these
can
ghosts
they?
are there?
Yeah.
They're ghosts.
Is this Nick Cage's real life? This was him in the real world before he died.
Yeah, maybe he got shot in the prison, or not the prison break, but he got shot in the botched bank robbery.
Yeah, maybe. That would also explain why so many characters get shot and then are fine afterwards.
Totally fine.
Yeah.
I think Nick Cage is shot in that scene too, isn't he?
Yes,
I think so.
He does. Or
Like
he
the
gets
cowboy
stabbed.
shoots twice, and then we see the bullet hit Bernice, but Nick Cage might have been hit too.
I don't even remember. I didn't notice it.
And then Susie keeps asking if she's dead.
Yeah, and then lives.
Would also explain how his ball was blown off and he didn't bleed out or
Yeah.
anything.
And then he was just walking around fine afterwards.
Walking around fine, yeah.
Yeah.
This is just a Japanese version of Dante's Inferno.
Maybe.
Yeah.
It always goes back to Dante's Inferno.
It always does. The greatest comedy, tragedy.
I guess.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of the only things that make this story make sense is if this is all.
Yeah,
And-
I really do think it has to take place in the afterlife, which is why you don't see any real structure of society after the opening scene. It's all this crazy nonsense that is just over the top because he's living. This is his redemption arc to then be able to transcend to whatever heaven, whatever his peaceful afterlife would be.
Yeah, which the title of the movie suggests, prisoners of the Ghostland. Like
Ghostland,
they're all trapped in the afterlife, which would be
Yeah.
Ghostland. And they have to sort through that before they're free or whatever, or they're stuck there forever.
Yeah.
I guess
Holding
that's why
back
they're happy
time.
to see him. I mean, I guess all those people could have been victims of his from when he was alive.
I feel like
And
some
this
of
is
them
his
were
way of, like, redeeming
nuclear
him.
victims, and then some were his victims, but they all were there because they were in this ghost purgatory.
True.
So I guess it makes sense if you look at it like that. I don't fucking know.
I don't understand why he's radioactive or what the whole
what the fuck
he's
was
got
that?
fresh thick red blood means or any of that.
Maybe he's a fresh corpse and he's a new ghost that just
Yeah.
joined the ghost.
Like he's not one of the victims of Hiroshima or whatever. So
Or the bus crash.
yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Well, we sort of answered this, but was the insinuation that Susie was supposed to be a little kid? Because she's playing with that toy and she's like very childish up until the end, and then she turns into a normal person for a minute and
Shoots them all with a machine gun.
Maybe
and then
she's
she
supposed
shoots
to be
everybody
like-
with a machine gun. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe she's supposed to be symbolic of like innocence.
Yeah.
I guess if we think of it as America, it all makes sense. But in the context of this actually being some sort of grounded fucking reality, who the hell is the governor, and why the hell does he have so much power over these people? And then suddenly doesn't have it at all when they take his
He just loses it.
$500 at the end. However much they could carry out of his house.
The only way you can look at it is from a metaphorical standpoint, but we don't really understand the metaphor, so it's kind of hard to explain it. But it's like, maybe it's a microcosm of like the people in power are only in power because we say they're in power.
Yeah.
And if
Or because of the
people's-
wealth.
This
Or
the wealth, it's
yeah.
the money
But if
controlling
people just
everything.
say like, we're not going to listen to you anymore, and, society as a whole says we're not going to do that, then they're done. They don't have anything to fall back on.
Correct.
So
I-
that's
now
generally
I'm
how
like-
humans have worked through most of history.
Yeah.
Like a single person can't really do anything unless he has supporters or she or whatever, unless they have supporters that maintain order or whatever. So it's like once that support evaporates, then they got nothing.
Maybe like now I'm thinking about it, maybe the girls are supposed to represent like nuclear arms of some sort. And he's lost control of the nuclear arms, and now the good guys have control of the nuclear arms, and now he no longer has control anymore.
Yeah, maybe.
Because once he finds out that Bernice and Susie, once he doesn't have control of Susie or Bernice, that's when shit goes off the rails for him, and he no longer has power. So
Yeah.
True.
okay, I don't know. So we spend all this time prepping the prisoners of Ghostland to fight the ghosts, but they just fuck off to the spirit world like immediately. Because Nick Cage and Nick Cassavetes were friends.
Yeah, that was such a huge letdown. They went nowhere.
I mean, this goes along to why did they put all those cars together if none of the Ghostlanders ended up helping in that final battle? Why didn't any of the Ghostlanders go to the town? Because they're stuck in purgatory still, because there's still this wall of ghosts between them.
But then the ghosts are gone.
He cleared the ghosts. Yeah, but then he
cleared the ghosts. The ghosts are gone. And the girl who cut her own hair, who looks like the girl from Breakfast Club, she comes into the town, but nobody else does. Nobody else helps at this final battle.
Yeah. They don't have enough budget.
Yeah, they ran out of money.
Okay. Well,
Wrap this shit up.
I guess that explains it. Aren't the Ghostlanders all insane because of the radiation and stuff? And then they act like all their troubles are over at the end, but wouldn't their bodies and minds still be turning into mush? But, if we take it from they're in purgatory, that makes sense. But from an actual movie story in a real grounded reality, it doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Because they were crazy that entire time.
Yeah.
All of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's all I gotta say.
You
can't rationalize illogic.
Yeah, I can't. There's no way to
Illogical
rationalize this as a real universe,
Yeah.
as a real world.
Okay,
it's illogical.
So-
This whole thing this makes no sense. So trying to rationalize it's
impossible.
Insane.
It's impossible.
Yeah, mine was is Hero really a bad guy? Like, did he actually kill a bunch of kids and stuff? Or because we're showing that he doesn't actually kill people during the bank robbery. It was just Psycho that did it. But
he did.
He acts himself like he has all these victims that he killed. So I wasn't sure if we were. And he's like, there's the weird like rapey vibes we get when he's telling Bernice to take it off, and he pours water, and like the governor has the chastity suit on him that'll blow him up if he tries to be violent or do anything sexual, which he clearly needs because he tried to do both of those things.
Yeah.
So
I think he's a violent guy, but I don't think he was a murderer. I don't think he was that bad of a guy.
I think he feels responsible for those deaths because he didn't stop Psycho.
Yeah.
And so he
but then they also
claims
call
them
him a
as victims of his
badass
own.
and say he's like super good at fighting and stuff, but
that's because he
he's
broke
not.
out of prison a bunch, right?
Yeah.
So he didn't necessarily have to kill people in order to be known as a badass because he was able to escape captivity several times, which could also go back to the purgatory thing somehow. I have no idea.
Yeah.
Finally was killed trying to escape. I don't know.
Or maybe he only exists as a hero because this whole thing is his story. Like, it's all his.
Right.
It's
Yeah,
his
this is-
afterlife. So
This is his final synapses firing.
right. Like, he got shot in a bank robbery.
He might have died in that bank robbery, yeah. Maybe that's what this is all for, because that's how it starts, is it starts in the bank with the little kid, and then maybe Psycho kills him.
Sure, yeah.
And this is all some crazy nut job dream of his own imagining.
Yeah.
More questions than answers. Put that on the fucking title, like underneath Prisoners of the Ghostland. More questions. You will be left with your brain more mush than Ratman and his Rat Clan.
It's time to keep track. Here are the final stats.
Nigel, do you want to hit us with the curse tracker?
Yeah, this movie was kind of light. There were only 17 total curses. One use of hell, one use of shit, and one use of bitches, which again is, you bitches! Talking to townspeople. And 14 uses of fuck. Fuck was by far the most commonly used swear in this, which is kind of true to form for Nick Cage, I think.
Yeah, that's the go-to.
I feel at this point they just let him ad-lib a lot of lines, and he just throws fuck in a lot when he's trying to sound angry or swearing and stuff. So, yeah, so that, again, 17 total for this movie. That brings our entire total up to 446 curses across 23 movies at this point.
23. Yeah, 23, because we don't count Dark. So, 23 movies. We are not even a quarter of the way through Cage's catalog.
God damn.
Runtime, this was kind of in the middle, 103 minutes. So it tied with Vampire's Kiss. It's almost like smack dab in the middle of our movies so far. Thank God this wasn't longer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was still checking the time a bunch.
Oh, me too, man. When I was breaking it down, it took me 3 different sittings to break it down. And I really, like I said, I turned into that girl in the closet in the ring by the end of this. Just nudity. There were the 2 breasts at the beginning when she takes her necklace off, and oh my God, I don't understand why that was in there. I guess the mother metaphor of some sort. Which brings us up to 24 breasts. I can finally say on the show 3 female asses, because I messed that up for like 5 episodes straight or whatever. Since Bad Lieutenant, I think I accidentally didn't count that. The girl that he blows crack into her, or she blows crack into his mouth. And
oh, yeah.
In Bad Lieutenant. State and Country Tracker, this was set in Japan, entirely according to the synopsis, but it could be some weird mishmash of all sorts of different cultures that have all been thrown together into purgatory. Who the fuck knows or cares at this point?
Yes.
That brings us up to 5 total countries: USA, Romania, Kenya, Japan, and then the Arctic Circle. Still don't know what to call that. Budget I couldn't find. Like I said, couldn't find it at all. I'm guessing that it was much higher than the gross, which was $60,009. I'd wager a guess that it was somewhere in the 2 to 3 million range. Could potentially go up to 5, but I don't know. It was all like 2 sets, so
yeah.
I don't think there was
But
much.
again, they made the most of it, whatever it was.
They did.
It looked like a big budget movie, at least from my perspective.
Yeah.
Only having 2 sets, the way it was shot looked very professional and done well.
Yeah. Spent a lot of time on that one set, the Samurai Town, which I kind of carried the movie, and then that clock with the scaffolding or whatever. Anyways, total $636.5 million with a $1.383 billion gross. As far as top grossing, this is the 3rd lowest that we've ever had. Just above Grand Isle at $5,566 and Deadfall at $18,369.
Damn.
Just below the 2 Schrader films. So didn't quite hit Schrader levels of excellence.
I bet they did a release in Japan. I bet that's where that money
You think
came
so?
from. I would not be surprised because I could see them flocking to this movie over there because of the director.
Yeah, he's kind of a cult director. Yeah, and Cage. I feel like anything with Nick Cage at least warrants some interest from the public because, we've seen over time that every time out he does something you're not expecting, and same thing. He did some things I wasn't expecting. They weren't good, but he did some things I wasn't expecting in this film.
Yeah.
Apparently, he did get a theatrical release.
Oh my God!
And the
made
States as well?
$60,000.
Only in Ireland and the UK.
Oh God!
Yeah, it says Japan got it, but it doesn't say whether or not it's a theatrical release or if it was just straight to streaming or not. So
I feel like Japan was pretty hard on the lockdowns, even going back into 2021. So
it's probably just straight streaming.
Probably.
And maybe that 60,000 came from the UK.
From Ireland.
Yeah.
Wow.
Let's go check out this movie. I can't do an Irish accent. Ratings. This was unrated, so we're back to fill in that barrel again. So that's now 6 unrateds that we've had across our 23 films, which leads us to the Cage Kill Tracker.
So, 21 maybe. I was like, anytime like he made a motion like he was killing somebody, I counted it. So like I counted 21. There could have been more because there were some weird cuts. So I couldn't tell how many people he had around him because there were points where he was just swinging the sword. So we're just going to go with 21, I guess, which would put us at like 66 total over the films.
Wow, that's a lot.
wow.
That's our highest total, right? That's got to be.
Yeah, 21 is the most he's, I think Mandy's the second. I can't remember how many he had in Mandy, but there's, I mean, if you think about
It's
the
like
kills
a
we done, he
dozen or
hasn't
something.
Really, he hasn't really killed a lot of people. So that puts us at 66. Death, I mean, we didn't see him die, so
I don't,
we can't say.
You can't say you can count it, but, you know, we could
Exactly.
speculate.
But they said he died off screen.
Yeah, they did. And then he was resurrected. And
then 10 seconds later,
I mean, you could count that because she was trying to yell at him to wake up, and he wouldn't wake up. So she said he died.
He was just passed out on the ground.
Or he's pretending not to hear her because she's annoyed.
Finally, this bitch talks, and this is what she says.
So, like, for the death and resurrection, because there's no clear evidence of either, 0 for both.
Yeah.
So it's been a while since he's died, and it's
he
been
died
a long time.
Dying in the Light, right? Spoilers for Dying in the Light.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
but
and
that's been a
dark.
while ago. That was what our third movie in.
What did we had
Second,
one
third movie?
just recently, didn't we? We just had one.
Moonstruck, Joe. Oh, Joe. Never mind.
Joe.
Okay,
Yeah, that's right.
all right. Let's go back. So so it's been a movie since he died. A movie or two. I can't remember what we did, Joe. Everything just blurs together now.
And maybe in Bad Lieutenant.
Yeah.
No, he
It's the same
I
as
know,
this
it's
kind
the
of
same
movie where
thing.
it's like,
He was at the aquarium. Remember?
If he died, it would make sense.
yeah.
Yeah,
make
exactly.
more
I know.
sense than
God,
it
I wish he
would
would have died. It would have been a lot better.
Well, this was a real pile of shit. Let's rank this film on the Cageometer.
All right, the moment of truth. This is I don't know what to expect from you guys on this, but ratings. Vince, where does Prisoners of the Ghostland rate on your Cageometer?
All right, for the film, 10 out of 10. Nah, just joking. It's a fucking 2.
2.
2. Just like, talking through it, I feel like we fleshed out a lot of what he may have been trying to say with some of the symbolism and metaphors. But because it's not clear, I can't fucking give the film a good score. It's not the worst movie I've ever seen in my life. It's nowhere clear or close to the best film. I think it was shot very well. Yeah, so it's got to get 2. It's not a good movie. And I feel like giving it 1 would be too harsh because I feel like people genuinely tried to make something of this film.
Yeah.
And I don't want to shit on him too bad, even though it was a fucking awful film. As far as Cage, this one's tough because I don't know. This is one of those things I struggle with. Like, how much did he really have to work with?
Yeah.
Like, what was
the
he
question
really
is like, for what he was presented to deliver to us,
Yes.
did he do a good job?
Exactly. And it's hard to tell because who fucking knows? I mean, this movie's so incoherent. So I gotta give him a 5. Only because, like, I don't think I could. I mean, obviously, I'm not an acting professional, but if I had his skill set, I don't think I could do what he did and make the character somewhat interesting with how fucking nonsensical this movie is. Yeah. And like, I feel like he gave us the best version of that character he possibly could, given the source material he was given. And I bet there was like no direction or not good direction from because just knowing how some Japanese directors are, like, they don't.
It's like
really
Lost in
give-
Translation, the
Yeah, I
movie
do
when they're
flash-
trying to get him.
Yes,
to
I
give
do
the-
flash back to that scene where he's like,
Kato, kato, kato.
more. Yeah, he says more intense. Yeah, so I feel like shitting on him for the performance wouldn't be fair because the movie just was not very good. The script was a mess. So I'll give him a 5. I think he did the best he could with the source material, and definitely not his worst performance. I don't feel like he mailed it in. I definitely felt like he was trying to give it some authenticity and give it his best, but definitely not his best performance we've seen this season.
All right, Nigel, where do you rate Prisoners of the Ghostland 2021 on your Cageometer?
I guess I should preface this by saying I don't like anime. And this movie was like the most anime movie I've seen, live action wise.
Ditto on both.
But anime stylist choice aside, it's not a good movie. So I give it a 3 out of 10. Not going to be quite as harsh as Vince was, mainly because I liked that they had him on a bike. That seriously elevated the movie because it was so fucking funny to just throw that in there.
You're pulling at every straw you can pull at to find positive things.
It's obvious that whoever shot the movie is very competent. I think editing was okay, could have been better, but we don't know how bad the original cut looked like of it. But it's incoherent, but maybe that's on purpose, like it's supposed to be. But regardless, the fight choreography was pretty good. I guess I should say dancing choreography because there's a couple of dance numbers in there. The lighting's great. The colors are fantastic. It's really pretty. It's really fun to watch. If you just take it as an abstract, like just watching little vignettes and stuff, it's entertaining what's on screen. And again, I feel like I can't remember his name. Sono. What the hell is his name?
Cyan Sono.
Sorry. I feel like Cyan Sono is a good director in his own right. I mean, he had to have been popular for it. I just don't think. I think this is a misfire for whatever reason. Maybe it's a bunch of reasons. It's just the movie has so much going on in it that it just loses its own messaging, which is the main problem with it.
Would you say maybe it was lost in translation?
I don't know if it's lost in translation or if there's just so much that's been put into it. Serious though. I'm sure some of it is that. But I don't know Cyan Sono. He can speak fluent English. I have no idea.
And this could be par for the course of the type of films that he's done, and we just haven't seen them.
Right. And if that's the case, then it's like, well, who are we to say that this was a shitty movie from him? Because if this is what he does and this is what studios wanted him to deliver, then whatever. I just felt like for watching this as its own standalone movie, it's very pretty and there's a lot of stuff going on, but it sort of steps all over its own messaging because of how incoherent it is and how confusing it is. Like we've hammered before throughout this, doesn't feel like a single through line that you can grab onto as like a starting point to try and piece together what it's trying to tell you. Things can be completely random or they can actually tie into some greater meaning and you never know really which is which. So why bother trying to figure it out? Yeah. That's sort of how I felt through it. So I just I became exhausted while watching it, and I just decided to just let it happen. Maybe that's another.
It's like with Bandy, where it was like sometimes you were confused and you weren't sure what was going on, but at least it felt like you were being pulled along through this phantasm.
Mandy has a through line of like it's a revenge story. It's a really simple story. You can grasp onto that. This movie sort of has that. Go get his daughter, bring his daughter back. But then they throw in all kinds of stuff like, okay, now he's got to stop the ghosts and now he has to kill the governor and free these prisoners who we never really understand who they are, what they're doing there, or what this entire universe actually is and stuff. And so not to compare it one to the other, but if you want a movie that takes you on a journey like that, watch Mandy, because it's an experience that you won't get through most other movies, but it's telling a story that's a lot easier to comprehend, and there's underlying themes and stuff that are there, but they're, I think, easier to pluck out and examine than what this movie was trying to do.
Yeah.
So 3 out of 10. Not a good movie. The 3 is only there because of how competently it's composed in places and shot. The music was good. Speaking of composer, so there were little parts that was great. I just feel like this movie was a lot of style over substance.
It was like the biggest name in those credits was the guy who did the music.
Yeah,
the Tron Legacy guy.
I noticed that one of the editor or producer or somebody was some guy named George A. Lucas or something, but it was Lucas spelled differently. I just thought it was funny that it was like Loucas or something like that.
Maybe it's a pseudonym. It's a pseudonym for Cyan Sono. He's going with the what was that? Thomas Jane or whatever the Coen brothers. Pseudonym that they got.
Yeah.
Roderick Janes. That's
so, Yeah, as for Nick Cage himself, I'm a little harsher than Vince was. I give him a 4 out of 10 for it. I agree that it's hard to tell what he had to work with and what constraints he was under or what direction he was given, but I feel like what he did was over the top even for Nick Cage in places, like the scene where he's supposed to be talking about how he sees all these dead children or dead victims and he's all wide-eyed and weird. It's just that pulls me out of what's, I guess, supposed to be a character-driven moment of it because it's just so goofy. And it's hard to say when everything in the movie is so fantastical that his over-the-top performance in a specific scene pulls you out of that. But that's how I felt like it was. And for the rest of the movie, I felt like he wasn't really bringing a lot to the character in his mannerisms. I never really felt like this guy was a badass guy that we should all be rallying behind, which maybe that was intentional. But given what we've seen he's able to do, especially with, I guess, more subdued roles or more muted characters, literally sometimes, I feel like we could have gotten more out of him from this one. So yeah, put him kind of on the bad side with a 4 out of 10 for this one.
Yeah. Okay. On my Cageometer, generally when I do these movies, especially the bad movies, the movies that I watch the first time and I'm like, oh my God, this is terrible. Usually I end up liking the movies better afterwards. But this time, no. Even going scene by scene, breaking it down, I still hated every moment of this experience. I hated every little character interaction. I hated every stupid line, every stupid look, every stupid moment where every stupid character did a stupid song and dance together. I hated everything about this movie. I can't stand this movie. I never want to watch it again. I never want to watch this movie again. I will never watch a Sion Sono movie for the rest of my life unless Nick Cage is in it and we have to do it for this fucking show. But it's absolute wall-to-wall garbage. Like we said, we've harped on it enough, but like there is no through line to this movie. It's just random shit, nonstop, from start to finish. It's just like there's nothing to grasp onto, like a Mandy, where it's like we can at least there is some ground in reality, even if this is supposed to be some sort of fantasy world of the director's imagining. We've seen this before. We've seen that kind of world built in a good way. And this is just nonsense. And I should also say, I hate anime and I hate anime storytelling. And I hate like those types of movies where it's like, oh, he's badass because he rode a kid's bicycle. I don't fucking know what the hell you're trying to tell me. And they do that a lot in these types of things where it's just like suddenly somebody says something that's like, no, that doesn't correlate with what just happened. It's just like random thoughts, like scribbled down in human shit and just put together in a script. And it's like, and then he rides a bike and everybody's like, he's badass, right? And then the guy runs up and he gives him a car and he drives off and he's like, he rings a bell and he's like, oh, there's not much time, right? Because that has to do with my metaphor that I'm trying to tell about nuclear annihilation or whatever the fuck he was going for in this fucking piece of shit. I hate this movie. 2. I'm giving it a 2. Only because the music was good, the visuals were good. Everything else about it was absolute dog shit from start to finish. I hated it. Fuck this movie forever. That's my review of Prisoners of the Ghostland. I still think people should go.
Please make sure to send us info and updates in your comments and opinions so we have to do it back in the cage for this.
Oh, God. No.
Please.
I feel like I'm not the target demographic for this film.
But we are not.
I wasn't the target demographic for Moonstruck, and I could definitely see that it was a good movie.
Yeah.
This movie I hated. And I'll jump over to Nick Cage. This was made obviously by somebody who loves Nick Cage. And I hated Nick Cage in this movie too, because he just did nothing that was like, it wasn't like he was acting or doing anything. It was just like, okay, make a funny face. Okay, say a line from Vampire's Kiss. Okay, do a deadfall thing. It wasn't like, I didn't feel that character at all. There was no substance to that character. There was no substance to any character in the whole film. I give Nick Cage a little bit of credit just because of what he probably had to work with. So I'm giving him a 3, which is better than a 2, which is the movie. The movie is a number 2 in more ways than one.
It's an Amber Heard.
Cage, I give him a 3. Just the benefit of the doubt. Like, there were some fun moments, but it was just exactly like Nigel said. Like, it just pulled me completely out of the movie. Like, we're supposed to have this big cathartic moment where he's realized, like, oh, everything I've done in my life that's bad has been leading up to this moment where I'm supposed to help these people, but he's just doing it through stupid face the whole time and like overly dramatic greed. And it's just like, oh, and then like fucking alas poor Yorick, I knew him well, to a football helmet, and fucking everything was stupid. And like,
also
just,
their Shakespeare was in there in that schoolhouse, the bombed out schoolhouse. There was like,
that's what they were looking at.
There was a Summer's Day written on the blackboard and stuff.
Yeah,
just, you know, like,
it's like, yeah, people like Shakespeare.
See, I'm deep. I put a Shakespeare quote in it. See, I have a line from Wuthering Heights. Read into it. Go
Animal
ahead.
Farm.
It's not my job to teach you what I'm trying to tell you. You have to go and find it yourself. You need to take this stupid mishmash of random bullshit that might as well be a crappy music video and turn it into this big, deep meaning, because I'm trying to tell you something very important. Fuck you, you know, like, get out of your own ass and tell a fucking actual story and put symbolism on top of it, you know? That's my review.
Didn't disappoint. That was more cathartic than the movie.
Here it is, the moment you've all been waiting for. These are the cagiest moments of the film.
I fucking ya! Oh, that's quite a scar you got there. You did that roller skating? Woo! Yesterday, they came to me, and they helped. And I know why. They helped me. Because I am radioactive.
You cannot.
All right, after that catharsis, I'm so glad that this movie is over. We never have to talk about this movie ever again, although we will reference it, I'm sure. But that's it for this episode of One Cage at a Time. As always, be sure to write us whatever your crazy fan theories are about this absolute drivel. Email us at onecagepodcast@gmail.com. Let us know if we missed anything, or send us suggestions to improve the show, like me not screaming and yelling about how shitty this movie is, comments, compliments, or simply to gush about the legend that is Nicolas Cage. I'm sure it's like, I mean, the critics gave this a great review, so maybe we're just like too...
I don't think it was great.
Yeah.
Still not.
5.8, but that's way better than our 2.3 or whatever we'll give it.
Yeah, we're just not learned enough to understand it.
We ain't no cinephiles, I guess.
Cinephiles.
In our next episode, we'll be breaking down a Nicolas Cage fan's wet dream, the unbearable weight of massive talent.
Yeah.
In this action comedy, Nicolas Cage plays a fictionalized version of himself who decides to attend a billionaire playboy's birthday party in Spain when his acting roles all dry up. But of course, things take an unexpected turn when the CIA asks Nick Cage to spy on his newfound friend Javi, who may or may not be an even bigger Nicolas Cage fan than we are. It's a great film. I feel like there are moments that pull you out of it, of course, but I think it's a pretty solid film overall.
Yeah. I think maybe we will look at it more critically than your average Nick Cage fan.
Yes. And I got to assume that the role that he was trying to get was another Science Sono movie, and that's why he gave up. And decided to take this billionaire playboy's money. Make sure to check it out wherever fine films are sold or on your streaming service of choice. Until then, we'll say goodbye the way we do each and every episode, with the only funny or good or mildly entertaining quote in this whole giant piece of shit movie. With our Nicolas Cage quote of the film.
If you had told me 3 days ago I'd be standing here with one arm and one testicle, trying to reason with you, bitches, I would have said impossible too.
Thanks for listening to One Cage at a Time. Visit us online at onecageatatime.com or follow us on the social media platform of your choice for more Nicolas Cage goodness. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and if you really like the show, become a member of our Patreon, where you can download unedited and ad-free episodes, as well as listen to our follow-up show, Back Into the Cage, where we re-examine each movie to discuss what we missed the first time around, answer listener questions, and wax poetic about the man, the myth, the legend that is Nicolas Cage.